Hello and welcome to a brand new Unsourced World Radio. I'm here joined by my good friend Brian Van Johnson, and we're here to talk to you all about Wicked, the new musical everyone seems to love. But I don't think we would count ourselves in that, despite some things or another. So I thought it'd be great to, get someone else on here, talk our thoughts about this whole cultural moment that this is happening because of the new movie, and just our thoughts on the whole franchise, if we can, here or there. Why don't you see yourselves and let us know like where you first came into contact with this property.
Me?
There's no one else
Yeah.
here.
No, well, yeah, that's true. I just wanted to. Anyway, yeah. The first time I came in contact with this property, the Wicked, just in general, like the book and stuff. Yeah, it was probably 15 years ago. I was around 14 years old, and I read it probably when I shouldn't have. That's the age I would say I was at. And I read it, and I had already read like the first few like L. Frank Baum books that this is based off of. And what surprised me was how different it was, but how actually there was a lot of similarities. It was paced a lot like an L. Frank Baum book. It was just a lot happened. It was very dense, and it was pretty much my first, I would say big boy book. And yeah, I was not expecting it to be what it was. It was violent, horny, and hilarious at some parts, and it was just probably like the best, probably one of the best reading experience, like first time reading experiences I ever had. And then I read Son of a Witch next, and then I read Lion Among Men, and then I took a long break because Lion Among Men was very much the Dance of Dragons of that book series, in that it is about characters that I genuinely do love and care about doing things that I couldn't care less about.
I know I get what you're trying to say, but I disagree with that 100% when it comes to That's for
Really?
Dragons, because that's a feast for crows, and That's for Dragons is a masterpiece. Okay,
Oh, am I thinking of a Feast for No, Brienne was in.
Brienne was in a feast for
Brienne
crows.
was.
Brienne is
Oh,
a feast
Brienne.
for crows.
Oh, it's for Feast for Crows. Then I'm sorry.
Because That's for Dragons is the one
No,
with
Dance of
Reek.
Dragons.
Is Reek
Yeah.
and every cart and all that. That's what that
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. No, I got the two mixed up because they both take place like they're
that's
both basically one book.
exactly. But no, I feel like we were on the same page basically when it comes to how we came at this. Because I was also pretty pretty young when I first read the book. I was like a latchkey kid, like his parents working, all that. And I just pretty much given the run of things. Like, here's a library card. Here's some money to go to Barnes and Noble. Do whatever you're gonna do. So I would be reading or whatever to pass the time. And I came across Wiccan. Like, this seems really cool. So I started reading it. And I was very, very young. I think maybe like 11, 12 when I first read this book. Um, and I get that same feeling. It is definitely not something that I should be reading. It's very adult situated, lots of mature themes, a lot of mature situations, but I just fell in love with it at that point, and it just felt like something a lot more expansive than I was used to at that age. And again, I read some of which I thought that was okay. I wish it was better than it was. I read like Flying Among Men. Like, this is just really, really bad. And I just never got to Out of Oz until like a couple years ago, a year or two ago, and it became. I feel like Out of Oz and all that. It's nice. It's a nice series. It really is. Like, I think like if you can get past that, it really does have a little charm to it. But we just have our next panelist here. Let's say.
Oh, hello.
Okay. Okay. At Icky Casket from Twitter. I'm gonna update the thumbnail. I got a secondary thumbnail first. I'm gonna update that in just a moment.
Oh, hold on.
But
Icky?
Icky Casket.
Icky
Icky
casket.
Casket. How do I refer to you? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Elvis?
Yes.
My name's
Okay.
October, so
Oh, look, I
you
can
can
see
just
the
call me
names. I'm an
Yeah,
idiot.
good,
October.
good. I was like, I should probably figure out how to call you. Some people like their usernames, some people like
Oh,
their names as
oh, and
such.
so sorry. Pronouns.
He, him, or they, them, whichever you prefer.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to.
No problem.
Thank
Me.
you for asking.
Yeah. Me. I'm not picky. Just any old pronouns you got lying around. I'll take it.
Okay. Good to
he,
know.
him as well. And so we were just going over like what our first introduction to Wicked as like a story was, and
Oh,
we
okay.
just kind of gave like our kind of a rundown just to get where we're coming
Oh,
from.
by the way, I just wanted to say that Out of Oz. Also, yes, a couple of years ago, after I took that long break, I did read it, and it's my favorite sequel.
It's
So
amazing. It's,
just
it's really fun. But like October, like we've kind of had like the run of mill of like, okay, here's where we came from. Like, what was your introduction to Wicked? Like, and what have you like recent or in the past? How long have you been aware of it?
Well, okay, so it's kind of weird, honestly. I didn't really, like, I knew The Wizard of Oz. Everybody knows The Wizard of Oz when they're a kid. Like, you watched as a kid. So that was that. And then I went to New York City when I was 11, and Wicked was on Broadway. So that was like technically my first introduction to the idea of Wicked. I didn't see it because we didn't have that kind of money, but I knew it existed. And then I got really into theater in high school. So everybody was talking about Wicked. All the girls were seeing Defying Gravity. Like I knew very well of the concept of Wicked by that point. And then I started watching like videos of people who are into Broadway and talking about it and talking about Elphaba and how she fits in with the lore of the Wizard of Oz and all this other stuff. I never really saw the production of it. I still haven't seen the production of it, but I did see the movie, and I knew enough about the movie to get a gist before I like when I wasn't going into it unaware, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Well, that makes
Like
sense.
I knew.
So you've been primarily coming at it from knowing the pop cultural impact of the musical, then, right? Like,
I'd say
Absolutely.
that.
so
And I would say specifically from the theater standpoint, like I was in theater, I worked on stage and off stage. I worked with sound design and directing and all that stuff. Like I'm very well versed in theater production specifically.
all right, no, that sounds great because like I feel like the complete opposite in terms of like I knew the musical was there, but like I'm not speak for Brian here, but as a fan of the books, I'm like I read the book like, and I always see like I live in New York, so the posters are all over the place. You couldn't
Yeah.
escape Wicked posters. It's got such
Oh
a
yeah,
great
Yeah.
iconography.
that smiling, like smirking face with her whispering in her ear.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
that was everywhere. You couldn't escape it. Like, oh, that's interesting. So but I never really broached it beyond that. I never heard any songs. I didn't know what the musical was about. I just knew that
Uh,
it existed, and like, okay, I have the book. It can't be that much different, you know?
Oh, good. Actually, yeah. You know what's funny is that's how I saw the poster and I was like, "What's that?" And I was at the library. Like same with the next day, I was like at the library and I go, "Oh, it's a book." And then I
Yeah.
read it, and then I was like, "How do you make a musical out of this?"
That's also, so to sort of key into that too, I didn't know it was a book when I first learned about it. I knew it as the theater production, and I was like, oh, it's the musical. And then my mom was like, oh, you're into theater, have you seen this book that Wicked is based off? Gave
Oh,
me the book. So
and have you skimmed it? Have you read it?
I no, absolutely not. I think I maybe read the back of it, and that's like I learned through like YouTube videos like the plot of it and like what happens to Elphaba in the book and stuff like that. But I have never read the book in my life, not
You
a
know what?
day in my
You know
life.
what happens to
You
Alpha?
have to read it.
Yeah, it is. You know what happens to Alpha in the
I
book?
don't.
A character arc. happens to
well, so it's I know what happens
yeah.
to her mom, and I know what they keyed into with her mom in the movie.
Yes.
Because apparently they were adding stuff from the
Um,
book in the movie.
Oh yeah,
At
that's
what
right.
point?
That wasn't in the original play, was it?
No, I don't think they ever touched on it. If they did,
Tell me, explain it to me, because I'm not at all versed in the musical at all. The movie is the
Um,
only time I've come to. So what do you explain?
they
What do you mean? What do you guys mean?
okay,
they
so
added. Oh, sorry.
no,
You
go
go on.
ahead, go ahead. No, you
Okay,
probably
they
know it better than I do if you've read the book.
okay. Well, in the book, as you know, which is my favorite thing to say, there is well, the circumstances of Elphaba's birth are well, they're not the best.
Okay,
She
yes.
was
So don't beat around the bush. We're all adults here.
okay. Fine. Yeah, the wizard is a date rapist, straight up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Like
straight
he's
up.
a
So,
piece of shit.
so how did that differ from the musical? You haven't explained that. Get to the
Well, I mean,
So,
that wasn't in the musical.
What do you mean?
I don't think.
originally, it was, as far as I'm aware, it was not in the original musical.
What part wasn't? Because that's not his
The
I think
part-
daughter.
So
he had it.
I think
I
there
think he
is
slept with her, right? But that
he
was
does
like
sleep
consensual.
with her. It was quote unquote consensual, and the green liquid was some sort of aphrodisiac.
Right, but that's how the musical looks like it too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
but it
Like,
looks
what do you mean?
it's a little more sinister, I would say,
You said
the
that
way
was
they're
different.
framing it.
But you said that was different from the
don't-
original production.
let me look. Like I said, I haven't seen the musical, so I don't know.
Right,
the
'cause
specific- it's
I'm-
so weird that this exists as a movie, which is separate from a book and the musical.
Oh man, don't get me
They're
started.
all separate
I
things.
think they really needed to lean into the fact that it was a movie and just sort of do a little riff on the original,
Yeah.
like the movie, the original movie adaptation of Wizard of Oz. Go with the ruby slippers.
But there's
Go with the
copyright.
Technicolor feel to it. Because it's not going to be like the book. I just accepted that it just isn't.
Right.
I'm
So-
trying to see if they ever mention why she's green, because originally, according to the synopsis on wikipedia.com, so it has the original part where it's like Glinda, it's post the Wicked Witch being killed in the Wizard of Oz, and then Glinda has the celebration with everybody, and that's when they say no one mourns the wicked. And then it does the flashback, but it flashes back to Elphaba arriving at Shiz University.
Oh,
with
okay.
Nesta.
All right. So that little stinger, the green elixir little stinger is absent.
Yeah.
That does not seem to be in the thing. I don't know if they ever mention it.
I mean,
later on.
No, I think they did.
Because later
I feel
in
like they
synopsis,
did.
I feel like they did. Yeah.
later in the synopsis, it does say that.
Because I'm not
Wizard-
that familiar with the musical, just so you know. I just want to.
Linda confronts the wizard with the elixir, which he recognizes as his own. He was the man Elphaba's mother had an affair with.
So I guess they do mention it at some point, but the thing is, it's my whole endeavor with doing this round of discussion is really just to discuss like what the failings of the movie are and / musical are.
Oh well,
yeah,
I can go into that.
So my idea was like how could we bolster the musical to not make it unrecognizable to people who like the musical, right? But make it less really dumb,
So
right, because that's realistic. Because I mean, like, sorry.
Go October. Go October.
No, you're fine. I just, I sort of have thoughts on this because, again, coming with a theater background and how important and big Wicked is one of the longest running, if not the longest running musical in Broadway history. It's got a huge, huge mass appeal. So any sort of Wicked movie was probably going to be doing gangbusters, no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter. That's why when people were complaining about it getting like mass reviewed positively on Letterboxd, I really didn't care because I knew of how big the fan base was.
Right, it was just hugely popular.
It was too big to fail.
Too big to fail. Oh, there we go.
Too big to fail.
Yes, so
no matter what they could have done, it would have been a popular movie regardless.
Yeah, so I feel like as fans of the novel, and me and Brian, it would be ridiculous to say, oh, they should have just changed everything to be closer to
Right. I
the
mean,
book. That was unrealistic,
yeah,
unfeasible.
because I was telling somebody on Twitter, I was like, I knew they weren't going to bust into song and dance. I knew damn it,
Fiero, Fiero.
Fiero. I'm an idiot.
Piero.
Fiero,
Yeah.
Yes, Fiero.
Figaro. Yeah, that's it. I knew Fiero. Damn it, I still can't get it.
Just say the Scarecrow. Just say the
Yeah,
Scarecrow.
okay, Scarecrow, fine. I
Scarecrow.
knew Play Scarecrow wasn't going to, bust out into song and dance comparing his wife's crotch to Elsaba's crotch. That wasn't going to happen. And I knew he wasn't going to, well, let's just say, find himself in a very shitty situation.
Right.
That wasn't going to happen. I knew, I accepted that. It wasn't going to be like the book.
Mhm.
But I would have appreciated if it was, what's the word I'm looking for? Good.
Nuance.
Nuanced,
So,
had characters.
so,
Period.
Was
So-
good to look at.
well,
No, it's not good to look at.
No,
It
I
looks.
know. I want it to be good to look at.
Oh,
It
okay,
doesn't
all
look
right.
good.
Yeah,
It
I
does
feel like
not.
this like Deadpool 3 is like one of those movies that is better
Oh,
for camera,
yes.
because then you
Yes.
I will say that the partial film's credit, the film's credit,
Hmm.
it doesn't look as bad as people were saying.
No.
originally.
No,
It
no,
doesn't-
the
it-
trailers.
there is
I don't know
color-
who.
The trailers are awful. I don't know.
I don't know
what
who
they did.
edited that trailer, but
It
he
looks
needs to be
garbage in
fired.
comparison to the actual movie. Like
No.
the movie looks fine. It
It's-
doesn't look amazing, and I think personally,
It's just a date.
it's very low key.
Yeah,
It should have
yeah.
been much more colorful, especially when you're talking about Wizard of Oz, which
It's the Wizard of Oz.
it
it should
made
be
Technicolor
alive.
what it was.
Right?
Like that was like it's not. It didn't invent Technicolor, but it put it on the map.
Uh huh.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I saw that tweet that said it invented Technicolor. So who's
It
right? Who's right?
I told
I
some.
don't think it
I-
did. I don't think it was.
No,
I
was
think it
No, no, no.
pioneered
There was,
Technicolor.
I think
I
it's one
went-
of those fact that there was a tweet that said it did, and like I don't know.
Right.
That's,
Um,
they got a lot of jokes.
what was that thing? Oh yeah, I told somebody on Twitter the other day is like, you're in trouble when the black and white portions of the older movie look more vibrant and alive than the full color movie in the modern
Yes.
day.
So Technicolor was invented in 1916, which is not when The Wizard of Oz came out. So
But
I believe it popularized it.
Oh yeah, that's usually what it is. It's not the thing that invented it that gets all the praise and all the attention and stuff. Is the thing that popularized it.
yeah.
It
So
also
that makes
wasn't
sense.
the first feature made entirely in Technicolor, which was The
It also-
Viking in 1928.
It also wasn't. If I'm. Oh, sorry. I
No,
thought
go
you were.
ahead.
I'm
That's all
on
I had
mute.
to say. It just wasn't the first to do Technicolor.
right. No. I was making fun of
It's
the-
also
of
not the
folks
first
that did it.
adaptation. It's
What's
not
that?
all. It's
Go
it's
ahead.
also not the first adaptation of The Wizard of Oz. If I remember, there was a silent
believe
version.
You're correct. I do believe you're correct on that.
No, I remember, yeah, because I remember seeing a silent movie, like all of them on top of a cloud or something, like running. Like I vaguely remember seeing clips of it. That's about all my cultural osmosis.
Yeah.
Right. So, just get back on top of Wicked.
Yeah,
Here.
right.
We've gone off topic here. So,
See, this is what happens when you get.
Yes. okay, no, because you gotta let me finish talking for a second.
I'm sorry. Go on.
All
Go
right?
on.
Just
Um,
again, very casual. Okay, I feel like I mean, we all will have. I think we're gonna have a fun time talking about this. But with Wicked, let's see here. Where was I talking about? Yes. Let's talk about the story of Wicked, because I feel like that's something that's getting a lot of praise in ways that I think we can all probably agree is just unwarranted in the most like weirdly oversaturated ways,
Mhm.
and that's like, oh man, this is the movie of the Trump era. This is the movie like this is like a hard hitting anti-fascist movie with a strong message, and I felt like we should talk about that, because the story of Wicked is like, and we'll dig into it with your comments about it. Elphaba basically is falling into activism, and then that's the story.
Right.
First half, like she just
Yeah.
falls into it, and it's like that is,
Oh, she needs to drive that activism.
yeah. So I want you guys to, how do you feel about Elphaba like as like a primary kind of motivator of the story? I want October to go first.
Oh, okay. How do I feel about alphabet? Okay, so I, again, I'm not a black person, but I do think it's important to note that uh, she is being played by a black woman for the first time, as far as I'm aware, even in the history of the Broadway production. And I think that it lends it a little bit more credence. However, the story is not good for that. It's a bad allegory for racism, and it's really, really clumsily handled in the original musical, and it was talked about how clumsily it was handled in the original musical. The side story with the animals and all this other stuff, and like, I don't think she really stumbles into it because she is like actively supporting Dr. Dillamond, and she clearly like sides with them and recognizes the oppression that they like. She feels kinship with them over the oppression that they both face and the ostracization that they both face as a woman who is green and animals who are talking. However, in the book, I understand that the animal stuff is handled very, very differently. And in the thing that makes it most disbelievable to me is, why would Oz hate a woman for being green when everything is so magic fundamentally exists in this world? So why would they feel hatred to this woman who has been born green? Like, it's never really justified why they hate her so much.
What do you mean, in the book or the?
In the movie,
Oh,
in the musical.
in the musical, yes, it's ridiculous because you're right. In the book, you know, I'll just one little sentence, and then I'll let Brian talk his piece about Elphaba as a character. But in the book, yes, okay, everyone's like, well, you know, she probably got cursed or something, and then just kind of shrug. The book, it's like, oh, she's green.
Yeah,
it's a
very Last Unicorn attitude where it's like, oh, that's magical. Okay.
Oh yeah. I think like one of the characters, like, you know, I think that her father's uncle's aunt like was half leprechaun or something like that. There's like there's a line like that, and they just go about their day. Like the Elphaba's
Yeah, I
not an
remember that.
outsider. It's because she's green. Because of course it's a magic universe. She's an outsider because
She's crazy.
She's driven.
She's an asshole.
No.
She's driven. Well, no. That's later. That's later. Yeah, go on.
Initially, she is ambitious. She is driven. She's like an actual girl boss. You know, like she's doing everything on her own terms. Right? She's like an actual girl boss. Right? She doesn't take any guff by anybody, and so that's like that's what alienates her. Her personality. She's like out of step.
She's loud. She's breaking the mold. You know,
exactly.
Everybody wants to fall in line, and she's not having it.
Exactly. And so I feel like that's what I mean by she stumbles into things in the musical by comparison, because like in the book, she is already sort of like, she already has these very strict, very adamant ideals and like morals and principles that she is like very attached to. And in the musical, like her first thing she says is like, I want to not be green and everyone to love me. And like, that is just like, that just makes her feel a lot more less developed in a way. It makes her more obvious in terms of like, oh, she's green, so she just wants to be normal and pretty, but but that's not great. I don't like, that's not as interesting a standpoint.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Someone who is like working actively, she went to college specifically to learn more about animal rights, to impeach to learn more about, to petition Oz for animal rights. She's like, that's the reason she goes to college. Musical, she goes to college by mistake.
Yeah, I was just about to say it's completely different.
Yeah, I forgot that everything happens to her.
In the musical, she's literally forced to go to college because Madame Morrible finds her interesting. Like, she didn't even go of her own volition. She was there because her dad made her go, and Nessa wanted her to go with her because Nessa was going to college, which, like, I'm, again,
by the way, they did her dad so dirty.
I don't know if Nessa is a real character or if she's a made-up character.
She is. Only she's different, like way different in the books.
Okay. But I like Nessa also, well, this is if we're really going to talk about Wicked, we need to discuss the fact that it shouldn't be 2 fucking parts.
No,
Excuse my language,
no,
but
no.
it shouldn't be a
No.
2-parter.
Yeah.
The only reason it's a 2-parter
It's for
is
money.
to make money. That's
Money.
literally the only reason.
Like
It's like that Tom and Jerry. We got to have money.
This one movie is longer than the musical. Like the musical you can fit in a 2-hour framework. And that's what's frustrating about this.
100%.
I'd say 2.5 hour because the musical's about 2.5 hours, I think.
I think that's with intermission though, because there's the
Oh
2
yeah,
hours.
that's right.
So if
Yeah,
you
but
cut
like
out the intermission, you can fit it into 2 hours.
I will
And
admit that
if you cut some dumb shit from
Brian, just let
musical
people
too,
finish
you
talking
can
first.
do that.
I'm sorry. I know that we're all. I know that we've been like amping at the band, especially Brian. But like, just let people finish first. Okay.
so sorry. I'll shut up.
No. Fine. It's your turn now.
Oh what? Oh okay. Okay. So what? Like you want to know about like what I think about Elsaba's character
Yeah.
in the book? Okay.
Keep it to like the portion of the movie. That
No,
we're
I got you.
talking
I'm gonna no. I'm gonna just keep it at the portion of the movie, the beginning. Well, what annoys me is that so much shit just happens to her. She's not. There's okay. Like, I think like her goal should be about getting to the wizard to change things. That's what she wants. The Wizard and Me, the Wizard and I. That song. It really seems more about. Well, yeah, I mean, she wants to be with the wizard to change things and all. No, she doesn't even want to be. I don't know why she wants to go see the wizard. Actually,
to be normal.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. No, she wants to be not green anymore. Which, again, that still pisses me off. Like,
So superficial.
because that's one thing that when they make her green and everybody else is more normal. That's another thing they remove is the magic feel from the world of Oz is because there's less like interesting people because there's like elves and dwarves and munchkins and all kinds of other crap running around. She should not be that much of an oddity. Her personality is what should be the like because here's what I feel like the story is about at its core. It's about this society where everybody has their place. Everybody's just trying to, fit in. People who fight back or try to change things. Things are made so difficult and horrible for them. And she's not having it. She's tired of people just they're just falling into place. She wants to change because it's different how they handle the animal thing. I think it's like it's been so long since I've seen it. Read it, but
I'll go through. I read it like the other day.
it's like the capital A.
Yeah,
there's regular animals and capital A animals, right?
Exactly. So this is what weirded me out about the musical. All right, because so we're talking about the animal stuff.
It's like the opposite in the book.
Yeah, it's the opposite. In the book, in the musical, it's so weird that they're like animals can forget how to speak if they're in a cage. Like, why? Because in the book, and I presume the Baum novels, I'm not sure if there's like 40 of them. I'll need to read them all someday. It's like animals are their own distinct race of Oz. Like they're animals, yes, but like people, they're just as regular as human being as anyone else, right? Until the wizard decides not because we need a really good scapegoat and enemy, but because he is imposing his own like norms onto this universe. Like he's creating a structure of this imposed structure, which I think is a lot more of like a actually anti-fascist kind of message than like we need a scapegoat. No, like he is imposing like a social and civil structure onto a world that doesn't really need it. It has outgrown or outpaced that. It doesn't fit with that. So that's the reason why. So but if animals can just become regular animals just because you don't teach them how to speak, that's just so weird to me. It's really weird. Like it's kind of removes the fact that these are intelligent, civilized beings. Like there's parts of the book where like they meet like someone like someone that they believe is like livestock or anything, and they speak like, oh my god, this is horrific. It really is horrific. Then like, oh wait, no, there's like this thin magical layer keeping animals from being like livestock. Like they're no, this is like animals are not the same as like regular livestock or regular everyday animals. They're like an actual race of beings. That are sentient.
Yeah, they're varied.
Exactly. So that was one thing. Like I felt like it's really weird that they changed that for like
I think they want.
what
I think
reason?
he wanted, like in the book, he wanted animals, like regular animals, to start acting like capital A animals, and also was like, no, these are different. They are different. They should be able to, be the way they want to be. And then, well, I mean, it's like somebody trying to impose rules on
Yes, that's what
like
you said.
Wonderland or something. It's just not going to work.
Mhm.
These people are beyond all that.
So that's I feel like that's why it doesn't really work for me in the movie,
Hmm.
because it's like, well, then what? It begs the question: then what is the difference? Like if it's just this thin magical layer that can be easily cut through, I think that just kind of robs the entire thing of more impact. Like you're not like these are just animals, but they can talk, but only if under certain circumstances. Otherwise, become regular animals. Like that's complicating it, but also stripping it of a lot more significance. I'm not quite sure if that's how
I,
you guys feel.
you go ahead, October.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you repeat?
Well, I felt like the reason why the animal stuff in the musical didn't work is because they add so much complications to it while also stripping it down. Where it's like, oh, they're animals, but they can be regular animals if they're like not socialized, but so they'll just become regular animals. But that just makes it feel like, well, then what is the difference? Well, in the book, like these are actual like race that are sentient and are deserving of actual of like general rights, like rights that everyone deserves because they're like an actual like
Yeah.
species, like it's
Uh,
weird.
it's definitely. I will say that it's clumsily handled in the musical too. And the one thing that I find, this is sort of tangential, but I do think it applies here,
Mhm.
is that the musical is ostensibly about Elphaba, but it feels like it's more sympathetic to Glinda, which is so strange because it's not
Yeah.
about her. It's never been about her. Like the fact, I don't know, again, I don't know the book at all. Um, is Glinda like even really a character?
She's only in like 20% of the book, and that's being
Yeah.
charitable.
And
But
she's like
She is a
half
character,
the
though.
musical.
yes, like she's in so much of the musical that from what I've learned, and in the book, I feel like she's even though she's only in 20% of it, she's a much stronger character
Hmm.
because they take all of like Glinda's moments, even the ones that were like character development, and make them gags. And like, why would you take character development and make them gags?
Right?
It just makes them less impactful. So I think the
Oh,
big one,
I'm very frustrated with how Glinda is
she's
in
an
the musical,
airhead.
but especially in the movie because yes,
Yeah.
she is a quote unquote an airhead in the musical, but the problem with that is you're sort of beguiled by her because it's played by, I'm gonna be really fucking mean, I'm sorry.
Mm.
Ariana Grande is
Go
not
for it.
charismatic. She's not funny. She's just there. She's taking up space. And it's
Get
even
her.
weirder knowing that she was like, she just feels like a wet noodle to me the entire time. Like when people were saying she did well, I'm like, what were you watching? I'm sorry.
Right.
Like because she came from a comedy show background, right? Like she was in Victorious, which was a sketch, which was like a
Musical comedy,
sitcom,
musical sitcom comedy.
Nickelodeon sitcom shit, and she was funny in that, but she was playing an airhead,
Mm.
and that
Right.
was her whole character. So it's weird to see her do it again, but suck all the life and charisma out of it. Like I don't know what the music industry did to her, but she feels like she's just a skeleton. Like she's not, like when she does the jokes and the bits, she's not funny. She's
And when
just
she's
like
and when it. Oh, sorry. Go on.
no, you're fine. But like when I compare her to Kristen Chenoweth, who I'm much more familiar with, and she appears in the movie. Like the original Broadway actresses, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, were in the movie, and you can see that they have that chemistry. Like they still have that chemistry together. When I look at Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande as Elphaba and Glinda, I don't see that at all. Like I just don't think they're funny.
It's
Like because
embarrassing.
it's really embarrassing because Cynthia Erivo is a classically trained actress, and I think she really is giving it her all. I think the weakest
Oh, yeah,
point
yeah.
is Ariana. Like Ariana just doesn't add anything to it. Like she's just there to say the lines. Like I don't know where people are coming from with this whole idea that Ariana was like this outstanding performance, because to me she's just mean. She's just mean.
And
There was that. Oh, I'm
go
sorry. Go on.
no, go ahead. It's your turn.
There was that part in the beginning where they were singing the song "No One Mourns the Wicked,"
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, they're zooming in on her face. I'm like, oh, so she's gonna like, she's gonna look sad. She's gonna be like, like maybe shed a secret tear because she's mourning the wicked. Like, oh, that's pretty
Yeah.
neat idea. And then no, nothing. She looks like
Nope.
she's waiting for to hit the craft table or something.
I was gonna bring it up because there's been several posts that post like screenshots or gifs of that part. Like, look how her nuanced portrayal is. You can tell that she's crying on the inside.
What the fuck? What are they watching?
It's Emperor's Clothes type stuff. It's Emperor's Clothes type stuff.
Yeah.
It needs to be true for the story to make sense, but so they can't take it otherwise. That it's just not there. Because like I think that Ariana Grande is okay and stuff, but I'll just say like even on paper, I haven't seen the Kristen Chenoweth one. I have to say that it's probably because if that works on a theater level, it's probably only because Kristen Chenoweth is very, very charming. Okay?
She's very charming.
Right.
She's funny. There's like a lightheartedness to what she does. And like, I'm not trying to be mean to Ariana Grande. I'm sure she's a fantastic actress, whatever. It's not my issue. I don't care. But like, and she was funny and Victorious. Like I remember, but I also, that is a sitcom and there was laugh tracks. So maybe I'm just programmed to think that it's funny. But watching back, I probably would be like, this isn't that funny. And also it's meant to appeal to 13-year-olds. Like I'm a 27-year-old person now. I don't need to like look back on that kind of stuff. And I do think this is also a huge tangent. There was that iCarly resurgence that happened a couple years ago, and that was baffling to me. But anyway, there's also this nostalgia factor, which I think also plays into Wicked.
That's the main selling point, honestly, I think.
It's the main selling point because everyone's like, oh, the musical. I remember that as a child. I saw it as a child, blah, 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 blah. And then you have Ariana Grande, who was in Victorious, and that made our childhoods. And she became this big pop star, and everybody loves her, and blah, blah, blah. And like, I get it. I get the culture around Wicked, but I feel like it's a culture that's built on a kernel of nothing.
Right.
Like nothing meaningful. To me, at least.
That's my issue with like look at Wicked as like a production, because like we can say like yes, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, they were like iconic, but like they're iconic because they have really great voices and they're able to express a lot. I think Idina Menzel was in Enchanted, right, as the love rival, to Amy Adams.
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, and I have to say, when I saw Enchanted I saw Enchanted when it came out. I was like 10 or something. I'm not quite sure. And I left that movie thinking like, my God, Amy Adams really stole that wonderful woman's boyfriend. What a horrible person. I left Enchanted just pissed because like Patrick Dempsey and Idina Menzel should have stayed together. Okay, he really loved.
These are facts.
I didn't know this happened.
Because she really loved him because she had a job. Okay, she's a businesswoman, but she didn't make time for him and his kid. I'm sorry, we can't all.
She was good.
Okay, but also I do just want to add like a little bit of theater to this as well, is that Idina Menzel did not start in Wicked. Mm-hmm. She was in Rent, which was much earlier and much more impactful. Well, to gay people, but like
oh, we need to talk about gay stuff.
Rent is a huge phenomenon in and of itself, but that's not the point of this. But my main thing is that Idina was a household name for Broadway people. So seeing her in Wicked having the starring role made sense. Same thing with Kristen Chenoweth. Like I am less familiar with her career because I'm kind of fixated on Idina, but Kristen and Idina were not like newcomers, quote unquote, to the Broadway scene. They have like a lot of experience behind them. And I think, again, Cynthia Erivo has more experience than Ariana Grande, in my opinion. Especially in terms of theater and stuff like that. But like, I don't know, like comparing the two, I just don't see what people see. And the reason, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit because this question was originally about the animals and how they're portrayed.
Right.
The reason I think it's weird, the reason I think it's weird that Glinda is more important in the musical is because of how shitty she is to the animals like the entire time. Well, just how shitty she is in general.
Oh, it's the reformed racist story, and I
Exactly. Like, I don't understand why we have to focus on her coming to Jesus. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't care.
And, like,
it's not the point.
Exactly.
That's
but,
the side character's arc. That's what that should be.
Right. You're right. But even then, right? It's insane that they took that route, but still made one of the only parts of the goddamn book that had to do with her realizing she was wrong into a joke. Like,
and that's what makes it even worse is that, like, it's ostensibly
there's no sincerity.
White savior narrative, but then there's nothing sincere about it. So it's like, oh, well, your oppression doesn't fucking matter as long as this white woman gets what she wants.
Okay, it's like
I don't care what she wants. She's a side character. She's not even the main character. Like, I want what Elphaba wants because she's the main character.
Well,
this is about her.
Well,
just to clarify, I'm sorry.
Apparently.
Just to clarify, the gag that we're talking about is when she changes her name, right?
Yes. I hate that so much. I hate that so much because in the novel, right? This is like Glinda only appears like in like 20% of the book, right? And that's like one of the last things that even happened with Glinda, right? She Dr. Dillman, he's outright assassinated by Madame Morrible, right? In the book, and Madame Morrible is the one who says outright animals should be speaking on her. She says it to his face. Okay, it's not like graffiti and ooh,
right?
So no, it's actually like this is institutional, and he can't do anything about it. Okay, he just has to grin it and bear it. Not just graffiti, and then it could be a student. No, it's like this is like he just has to grin and bear it, and that is just like horrifying and depressing on its own, and has a lot more impact, I think. But then like he gets assassinated by Madame Morrible, and then Glinda is just shell shocked, and it's just a couple of paragraphs, but it mentions like she become a ghost of herself or something like that, and then she changed her name to Glinda because is she like trying to do it like sincerely, or is she just like doesn't know what she's talking about? And so it's just you get that idea that like she's just kind of out of place and she's unmoored a little bit because she's like up until then she's like very kind of like she's like how she is in the musical basically a little bit, where she's very vain, self-centered, naive. She's not as much of a jerk in the book. Like early on, she realizes that like Elphaba is like let's just live and let live, okay, and so that's really where the conflict is. Where like Glinda, just personalities, not just her antagonizing Elphaba, but like let's live and let live. But they just can't stand like one. Like, it's an odd couple, basic odd couple stuff. I hate that in the musical they made her more of a jerk because like. I don't know.
She's awful. She's fucking terrible.
She is.
It's like actually baffling how shitty she is the entire time.
I'm like,
and like
the whole time.
But because it completely is juxtaposed to the fact that she's supposed to be this airhead, right? Like she's not supposed to be self-aware, but then she shows moments of self-awareness and she chooses the shitty option.
I hate that so much.
That's the weird
She's
thing.
so openly contemptible.
Like she genuinely just doesn't care about anybody else. Like she wants what she wants and that's it. She doesn't care about Elphaba in any meaningful capacity until the point where they have that dance in the middle of the whatever. Like,
and she went back to the way she was.
The fact that she gave her a hat and then that was her coming to Jesus moment, like, oh wow, maybe I was too mean to her. Like, what is happening right now? Why is that your moment of growth? Like, you should have had
the moment of
growth by now. Like the fact that like I really hate music. I really hate Wicked the Musical. Because if this is what Wicked the Musical is, I get why it's so popular, and why it's so popular is pretty insidious. Because
with white people, honestly.
With wealthy
white women.
White people too. Wealthy white women, because Broadway is a very much a class of person.
It is.
You know what I mean? And again, like it centers this woman who was not the center of the story.
Right.
Was never the center of the story. And even in the original Wizard of Oz, she was never the center of the story. She was a side character.
Yeah.
And then in Wicked, she becomes much more of a character. And I get it. You have Kristen Chenoweth, you want to use her. But like, I think it works better when she's funny and when she's lighthearted and when you can sort of really get that she's not being malicious. Whereas
No,
in
she's
the movie,
supposed to
she
be
feels
absent-minded.
malicious. She feels antagonistic.
Yeah.
Like it's genuinely awful the way she treats Elphaba. And none of this whole thing about them becoming best friends like has any weight to me. And I really am curious how they're going to do part 2 because
I feel no connection at all.
Way they ended it. It's and I also, if we ever get to Nessa is a whole kit and caboodle because I can't.
Oh yeah.
Can't. She's completely sidelined in the first part, and the
Right.
only reason that matters is if you know the entire story. But you don't know the entire story if you haven't seen the musical, which a lot of the population fucking doesn't. So they're not going to know until a movie that comes out 5 years from now because these movies take 500 years to make.
Mhm.
So like, what are we doing? What is the game plan here? Anyway, I'm sorry.
It honestly feels like they're making.
So you go ahead, Ryan. Make your comment. I just wanted to jump on to what Tupper was saying.
It honestly feels like they're just making it up as they go along.
Yeah, I would agree.
I blame Steven Schwartz for that 100%.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I want to jump off because we're saying that yes, it centers like rich, very upper class, like very a white woman, like very. The musical is like very plastic, very twee, very superficial, very
Mhm.
obvious.
Yeah.
Did you read that in the lyrics too? Because what songs have actual thematic meaning to their lyrics? Wizard and I doesn't. Okay, Dancing
Right.
for Life is very unashamedly not about anything. Popular is also not about anything.
Nope.
What is this feeling is also not really about anything. Like Loathing, like it's just like
No, they hate. It's just that they don't like each other. That's it.
exactly. They're just saying, oh, I'm so glad they're saying they don't like each other. That's so interesting.
Really, I couldn't get that, honestly.
The worst part about Loathing is that in the musical, in the original musical and in the movie, it's meant to be a play on this idea that it's like queer baiting. Sorry.
Right.
So that's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to say. I want to say into that. Right? Like you're saying that centers white women. I'm saying like yes, but it specifically centers straight upper class white women that want to act like they're a little bit edgy. Okay.
Yes.
They want to
Right.
take a little bit because like you get all this stuff where like we take a book and bring it back to the book a little bit. The book, you can count how many straight characters there are in the book, like on less than a hand. Okay.
Probably one finger,
Like,
honestly.
because almost all the characters, men, women, or otherwise, are either gay or bisexual. Okay.
That rules.
Or tiger sexual.
I think there's only like one straight character in the book, in the first book. I think that's it. I think that's really it. Bach.
Probably the
That's it.
wizard.
No, Bach. Probably the wizard who kids. But yeah, probably Bach is the only straight character in the entire book. First one, and then you get to the musical, and then suddenly we take this stuff because the book is actually pretty the romance angle between Elphaba and Glinda, even though Glinda is only like 20% of the book, it is a lot more overt. Like the text is very blunt. Like they'll say stuff like Elphaba always felt like he was out of breath whenever she and Glinda were in the same room. It'll say shit like that. And then it's been years since Elphaba saw Glinda, but she still had that way about her that she just couldn't help but like smile, and whenever she
so the book is more overt about
It is.
Yes,
It's very queer.
like Fiyero is still like a love interest for Elphaba, but the way it's played for Fiyero is more that Fiyero is like this little respite of normalcy that Elphaba is kind of clinging to, but but it's not whenever the way that like the inner narration kind of describes Fiyero. It's third party, but it's from Elphaba's perspective. It's not really romantic. You compare
it's like compulsory heterosexuality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's like in the Animal Rebellion Underground, and Fiyero, she's like, I already have too much stuff on my plate, and this is just a release,
Yeah. To be straight and normal.
Yeah.
Or quotation marks.
Yes. And like Fiero, like when he gets his perspective, he's like down bad. You get flip perspective.
Oh yeah,
She's like
yeah.
we're just having
Because
sex. Get the fuck out of my house after that. You know.
his wife is like really depressed and like does not like
Okay, we're not talking
his
about
wife's gone through a lot, right?
yeah, yeah. But anyway, but then again, when you compare that to the Glinda stuff, when she meets with Glinda, it's like, no, that's who she loves. Like that's the romance part. Like I love it because one of the last things before the time skip, there's a time skip. When she the early ending of the book, the ending of the first part. You know, the last thing that she says to Glinda is like, just be strong, my love. Be strong, my dear.
Oh
And
yeah,
she starts crying because like she's the last time she's seen Glinda that she knows of, right?
knife in my heart.
So my favorite thing is I saw this fan cam. Okay, I described that on a tweet. I saw this fan cam where they use those lines at the beginning of the fan cam, right? And they attribute it to Wicked, not Wicked the book, just Wicked in general. And then the rest of the fan cam, after the quote pops up, is just pictures of like Glinda and Fiero, and then like Fiero and Elphaba, and like their scenes together without each other. Like, oh, so just kind of admitting outright that the musical and the movie itself is just a lot more straight. Okay, and like no, it can't just be that they're two, they're two girls that are have a burgeoning unspoken romance between them. No, it's gotta be a guy, and they're a love triangle with a guy in it. And I love it because then you get people saying like, "Oh man, it's the first like gay lesbian love triangle." But one, Pharaoh, like gay, where did you get that? It just feels like you're trying to add. It feels like you just don't want to accept that the musical centers straightness in such an insane degree.
But that's
And
what
you're trying to
queer
pretend that
people
Pharaoh is
do. That is, I feel like they have to do that because
but like
queer people are served scraps and they
but
have to treat it like it's filet
yeah,
mignon.
I get what you're saying, but like you have the book for that.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
Like it feels like they're trying to like the musical. They're trying to give more credence to the musical that doesn't deserve. In fact, it's despicable in my view. Because not only did they do
That's
that,
true.
like when we talk about Nessarose, okay, like Nessarose's whole thing is that she is a religious zealot. Okay, and that's where she becomes a fascist. And then I read a summary of the second part of the musical where it's like, oh no, she becomes a fascist, a dictator because she just loves Bach too much.
Oh,
And like
Oh
and
my
like so
God.
again, the musical centers straightness, centers heterosexual
it
relationship in
does.
an insane degree compared to the book, where again, only like one character is straight at all. I mean, everyone else is like bi or gay or just not into it.
That's
And
actually really interesting. I
it,
did.
it, so that's why I feel like the musical is like we're gonna take this when I strip it down to something that we can sell. That's
Right.
simplified. That's something that we can sell without any worries. And then we'll just have a little touch here and there just for some spice. And that's what makes it feel like very insulting to me, especially as a bi man. Where it's like I feel like you're dumbing it down just so that you can have plausible deniability. No, it's not a gay musical.
Right.
It's just
Right on the nose.
and it's like it's just so commercial. You're commercializing it in a way
Yeah.
that is completely centered around sexuality. You're commercializing the sexuality a lot, and so that's why I hate when people are like, oh, it's a romance between Elphaba and Linda. It's not really, and then you have to say like, oh, but see, Ariana confirmed it. Like, what do you mean confirmed? The fact of the matter is, it's such
Oh,
a
this shouldn't be confirmed
it should
outside of the text.
exactly. It should be the text, and it's not. So they have to. They
What a
have.
J.K. Rowling moment to be like,
Yeah,
oh, it's not.
there you
You're
go. I was
actually
just
queer.
about to say that.
But we're
Queer
not
the whole
going to
time.
discuss it in the story. It's just they're gay,
Right.
which is such a cop out and has always
Gross.
been a cop out. But also to sort of get into that a little bit more, specifically with the way the people outside of it are treating it. I do think that this whole like bonding thing that Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande have been like talking about, where they like get matching tattoos and they're having their little moments and all this other stuff. They get the Barbie. Did you guys see the
Because the
Barbies
chart
that Mattel
says.
made?
Oh yeah, the one
Like
that led to the porn site.
Yeah, and yes, oh my God, that was so funny.
That was so hilarious. I laughed my ass
I
off.
can't believe they didn't check that before they sent them out. But anyway,
I absolutely can believe that.
anyway, but like it there is this whole, again, it is tying into, even with the gay stuff, like being sidelined to focus on a straight audience, like this is appealing to white, straight, rich women who maybe do want to feel a little bit edgy. So they're like, oh, what if there's a little lesbianism thrown into the mix? Like, ooh, remember that girl I talked to in college? Like all this like weird stuff to directly court, and also to give them reasonable,
plausible deniability.
Exactly. Like to make it be like, well, you'll have to watch the musical and find out. You got to pay thousands of dollars to go see Wicked on Broadway, and blah 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 blah, and station and like help the economy of New York City and all this other shit. Like it's so insidious. It's so capitalism.
It's all corporate.
It's all corporate, and I'm not familiar with who specifically made Wicked and who like did the book and the music and all this other stuff. But not the book, but like the theater book, which is like the script.
Let me look it up right now. Wicked.
Yeah, I'm not super well.
It was Stephen Schwartz, right?
Stephen Schwartz did the music, but and lyrics, but the book was by.
It was a woman who wrote
Winnie
the
Halsman,
book, I believe. Yes.
Winnie
right.
And like I would bet about $20 that woman is not a lesbian.
Oh, what? No.
I just like I don't. And
a real lesbian. Nah.
Here's your $20.
Yeah.
Broadway is so funny because it caters directly to queer people and it employs queer people. There's countless gay men who work in choreography and work in acting and work in theater and all this other stuff, but it pays them dust constantly. Pays them dust when it comes to actual representation. And then if you do get representation, it's like Rent, which is a double-edged sword because it's written by a straight man about his
Rent
his
sucks.
friends.
I'm sorry.
Rent, I have a really soft spot for Rent because it makes me happy, but it also is rifled with problems. Idina Menzel's character is technically biphobic in like the worst way possible. Everything surrounding Angel and Collins,
that one character.
They all have AIDS, and then the focus is like Mimi and Roger, who are the straight couple with both AIDS because they were drug addicts. Like, it's a queer story, but it's written by a straight man who is just an outsider to the queer experience. Literally an outsider. He was involved with these people. He was involved with the queer scene, but he doesn't know what's going on with these queer people. He's sort of looking at them like they're animals. And I like Rent, but I know that it is not good. And I think that people need to have that sort of mentality with Wicked, where it's like, you can like Wicked, but Wicked is not, the musical is not gay representation.
Yes,
It's patently
I'm with you.
And it's frustrating that we have to have this discussion all the time. Not with, like, in this specific sense, but, like, gay people, like you said, are fed scraps. And then we're expected to be nourished by them forever.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you for having this implication. That's like, I'll do all the work and I'll make fan art and fan work and I'll make it gay. Just give me the implication and I'll do all the work.
And of course, they're played by two straight women. Idina Menzel, straight woman. Kristen Chenoweth, straight woman. Like, even in the musical itself, the Broadway musical, it's not proper representation. It never has been. It's been insinuations. It's been implications, because how could we possibly alienate the cishet white audience? How could we do it? We can't do that.
That happens.
They have to center that experience, which is why Glinda is made more of a focus, which is why it turns into a love triangle instead of straight up just implication, like, not implication, I guess, but more overt text that Elphaba is in love with Glinda. And I did get that vibe with how little I know about the source material and the musical itself. I did understand that was the context. But at the same time, I'm sort of a lesbian. It's hard to explain. But if I
It
were
often
someone
is.
who wanted to be represented by Wicked, this is not how it would be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want this as representation.
And
I don't think this is good representation. But I will say that in the movie, it's also a lazy implication, but it is implied that Fiyero is more bisexual, which
Right.
I imagine was Jonathan Bailey's part.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a great story about Jonathan Bailey's impact.
I love him, by the way. He is very, very good at it.
He's very talented.
Yeah,
he's really talented. I like him in
the
stuff.
character sucks, but like him himself is very charming.
I think he's the best.
He
part
sells the role too.
He makes it work.
He makes it work.
I have a story about John Bailey's impact. So I have no idea what the musical is about. I see the trailer for the first time, and I'm like, okay, this is the first part of the book. I recognize all this stuff, and I'm like, these are a lot of white people. Where's Fiyero? Maybe he's in a different trailer. You know, and the
he's white.
No, exactly. Let me get to it. So the second trailer, all these white people, like, that's strange. Like, we're seeing all these people, like, wait a minute, she's next to that white guy, and they look like they're about to kiss. But where's Fiyero? And I can't. Like, and I see a poster.
Where did he go?
I see the poster. The character posters come out and it says Jonathan Bailey as Fiyero. I'm like, that's not
no, he's
true.
not.
That can't be true because Fiyero is not white in the books. He's not. He's meant to be like the Oz allegory for Native Americans. Okay, the Vinkus is meant to be like, Native American reservation tribes. They're being impugned on the same way that that Native Americans are. Basically the wizard is again imposing Earth American norms and social structures onto us, and it's basically ruined his life and his country. But ahead of that, I'm like, that's really weird. I started saying, like, this is really, really wrong because it's basically just whitewashing, this character, and Jonathan Bailey. Not done. Right? So Jonathan Bailey should not be in this role. And some people, Wicked stands, I assume, were like, you're just being homophobic because Jonathan Bailey is a gay man, and if he said no to being in this role, he would be blacklisted.
I hate that shit.
You are the real racist for saying that it should be only a brown person playing Fiyero. I'm telling you, these are things that
Wicked so forward.
And this is why Wicked stands don't deserve rights. Anyway,
it's funny because then it came out that said, like, did you know Jonathan Bailey was filming Bridgerton and Jurassic Park and Wicked all at the same time? Like, and I wanted to find a guy who said that to me because I'm like, oh, so he was going to be blacklisted if we said no to Wicked?
Oh my God.
I love the delusion people have when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like, a gay man is not employable in this state.
Unless he's in Wicked.
Dare we?
Unless he's in
Wicked. Unless he's part of gay stuff. What are we doing? Like, I don't know.
I just wanted to say, they basically turned him into Ericott. Was that it?
I'll explain it. So in the book, basically, there is a rich playboy, like Bane, male Glinda character, right? Mm-hmm. Who is named Averick, right? And basically, yeah. And basically, I feel like, again, people who wrote the musical, who are not, of the life, right? They're like, oh, how do we appeal to like the rich suburban moms, and like, oh, but there's a character in the book that's within a college student who's like a bad boy, who's like a rogue or rebel, and he's like a rich and he's white and like, you know what? But let's just name him Fiyero because that's the one that the alphabet bangs, and just get rid of the other one,
It's very much like editorializing and
but he's basically the same. He's basically the same as that character, Averick, who has, like, I think one of the funniest arcs in the entire book. So he's in all 4 books, and he just keeps like bumbling his way like an evil Forrest Gump.
Yeah, he is.
An amalgam of both those characters, which is it's less amalgam and more just slapping
the name on it, right?
Right. And I know why they changed it. And because you brought up that he's an allegory for, like, you said it was like the Native American and the people in the book. type people in the book. Well, reminding people of of our history in this country and
Of actual
Native
injustice.
Americans, actual injustice makes all the white rich people who buy
Again, we can't
Broadway
risk
tickets
alienating. We can't risk
uncomfortable.
alienating. They can't
That's
be made uncomfortable.
Won't
that's what
someone think of the whites?
that's why people think that. That's why people say Hamilton was very successful because it's like, see, the founding fathers were also cool
Oh
and minorities. So
God.
that's why slavery wasn't a problem because they would have been cool with it
I'm
if they
about to
were a
have a
minority.
spur attack. Don't bring up Hamilton. I'm joking.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
but but I will say that if you divorce everything from Piero, I do think that the number and the scene dancing through life is the only scene in Wicked that works. Okay, it's the only scene in Wicked that works because one, it's the song is even though it's not about anything, it's actually really good in like a very kind of overt, very fun way of setting up that he's going to
Yes.
be the scarecrow. And also, I feel like the idea of turning like this kind of vain, kind of prissy, kind of like this very shallow guy into the scarecrow it's a nice little fun twist. So I think like that works in its own isolation. But then when you're like, oh, that's meant to be this guy, and he has this arc, and he does this alpha in part two, like that just ruins it. But like I feel like I do love that one little sequence because he's got the choreography is also the only good part of the musical is in Dancing Through Life. The only good choreography. It was like
Right.
you see the choreography in Popular or
In
What
the
Is This Feeling, and like the choreography they're talking about is just like her just shimmying in a line toward the camera, like oh look, the choreography, and it's just her like shaking her shoulders a little bit. Like that's not choreography. That's just little grooves.
It's just her shimmying.
Exactly.
right. I just want to say when you're talking about the choreography, what really would have helped? Okay, like there was a few things that I wanted to. I think we could all agree on that would have made this movie like a million times better. Is just like the movie itself as it was. If these changes were made, it probably would have been less. Probably would have been less salty about it. Is one, get a color grader that doesn't look like he's been staring into the sun for an hour a day. Two, pull the camera out so I can see these sets that you've built.
Oh my
There's a
god!
huge
Yes,
amount of sets. Can you let me see it?
insane.
Say what you will about Robert Eggers, but when I'm watching one of his movies, I can see the hard work that goes into it.
I'm beefing with Robert Eggers, but that's just because I think that's not.
I know
That's
it has
another
the most
discussion.
annoying fan base, that's for sure. Okay.
How dare you?
Also, wait, hold on.
No worries.
Hold a shot. Yeah, I wrote some notes down. Hold a shot for more than 5 seconds. That'd be nice. The over the shoulder thing, back and forth, there's so many scenes that in this movie I thought, oh, this would have worked better if they were just both in frame and the sets were visible. Like it just would have given me a sense of place. And yeah, my final note here. Second to final note. Take the lighting director, load him up into a slingshot and fire him into a brick wall, and then get a new lighting director. And the last note here is get a director with. This is double underlined. Some sauce, any sauce, one drop would be fine because this guy ain't got it.
We're a little harsh to John M.
No,
Chu.
okay. So I wanted to compliment. Okay, I'll try and be complimentary. So let me just finish my compliment here first, October. So
I'm not. Listen, I will say I don't have any stakes in this. I don't give a fuck about John M. Chu. I do not think he was the reason the movie was not good.
No,
but that's
my
true.
Own
perspective.
The reason the movie is not good is Stephen Schwartz and Winnie Holzman. That's the reason the movie's not
good. Yeah, I am being
that's
harsh.
Part of the reason. I would say producers.
There's like a mountain of reasons.
But to finish my compliment, because I'm trying to compliment this terrible movie.
Oh, go on.
Is that the choreography, which is again not just shimmying toward the camera in a straight line this time, is Jonathan Bailey. Like he's got a very kind of loose, like kind of like dancing style there, where she's kind of swaying fluidly back and forth, and like that's a really great, really subtle, nuanced kind of choreography.
Yeah.
He's like that's like the scarecrow. He's like
he's very fun. Yeah.
It's funny you say that. I felt the way about the scarecrow. No, go on. I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
No, he's very fluid. He's all over the place. So I think that's a great way of calling forward that he's gonna become the scarecrow in physicality. In a physical way.
Yes.
Like the way he kind of like moves around, like he's very limp at times. very great. It's very great. I thought that was like the
Very,
only
it's,
good.
a cute, it's a cute little homage to where the character goes. Yeah.
Exactly.
I will say that you say that the choreography in a few scenes are good. I would have liked if they had pulled the camera out and stayed on it for
Yeah,
just instead of keep
yeah.
cutting around. I'm not getting you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes
And
sense.
that is a John M. Chu decision. He didn't need to do it
Right.
that way.
Mhm.
I love how even though yeah, if we're saying that yes, but like and most times I think what really hurts is that when he does pull out, he just kind of follows the dancing like very slowly. The actors will be
There's
like will be dancing like really kind of frenetically, really kind of energetically, and his camera will be like panning slowly around them. Like no, match it, okay? Give it energy. The dancing has energy, and the camera is like slowly, going in or out. Like it's really really boring. It's a boring.
which is strange because I saw In the Heights. I didn't get that from In the Heights.
Oh,
The camera's flipping
In the
upside
Heights
down
sucks
and
so much.
following the characters.
In the Heights sucks for so much more reasons, but the choreography and filming isn't.
Yeah, there's like that's you got to give credit where credit's due.
Mm.
And I
Well,
don't know what they did with this movie. It's because they have to have coverage. They have to have like certain. Like, I mean, it's all corporate decisions. Like I'm sure that make the editing in this movie just like way worse than it is when it's a smaller movie like In the Heights.
Yeah.
I
You were
don't
saying
know, smaller, but
I do think that John M. Chu is a competent director. I do think he
Yeah.
knows what vision he's going for. I do think Wicked suffers in the editing portion, where that's where the color grading comes in. That's where those choppy shots come in. Like a lot of it is just the fact that it's edited like someone on extreme ADHD with no Adderall.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, I really am not trying to be harsh. It sounds like I'm being harsh, but like, again, I want something visually engaging, and I just don't find Wicked visually engaging.
I'll admit that I'm trying to be harsh.
And I will say that like the musical is also the source of a lot of these problems that we've been discussing.
Yeah.
But at least it's nice to look at.
Right, it is.
And
It looks pretty on
in
stage.
the characters, and like people look like they're having fun. Like I don't know. Like I think it works better.
It has life.
It has life, and I was having this discussion with somebody, but I do think on a level, movie musicals are doomed to fail unless they start as movies. Like Moulin Rouge works because it's a movie first, and it's very theatrical. It's very, very theatrical. A lot of people like Chicago as a movie. I don't know why.
Right.
I think the acting is very stiff. I will say that it's better than a lot of movie musicals, and Cabaret I think is one of the better ones too. But Cabaret is its own beast.
But it's all blown out of the water by all that jazz.
Yeah,
because it's a movie.
And Mamma Mia was a movie first before it was a musical, and it's a pretty cute movie. It was a movie first.
No.
I have no idea.
I think I'm wrong about that.
You're wrong about that one, but
I
think that it works because movie musicals when they first started happening, right? Like a lot of the more common musicals that are movies are jukebox ones. That people know how to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Really don't know how to do them. It's
what, jukebox musicals or musical movies in general?
Well, I think they don't know how to do them in general, but also, jukebox musicals are such a weird one too, because like I don't know, like I think it works with Mamma Mia because people love ABBA. Like I do think it's as simple as that.
You have no idea how much
my script for the Monkees movie musical is still going to happen. I can tell.
I mean, the Green Day musical did really, really well for something that nobody saw.
The what?
The Green Day musical?
What was that?
You didn't know about the Green Day musical?
No, I don't.
American Idiot, yeah.
American Idiot, the musical. But
really?
I
feel like I'm...
That's something you wouldn't expect out of Green Day.
Well, here we are. There you go.
But yeah, so that's another musical that
Yeah, just
I and the one thing I will say to sort of like,
Mhm.
I don't know if we plan to continue, but I do want to get this out, is that I do think this is just going to lead to more movie musicals that aren't good. And I think,
right.
I think this is going to have
You're not
a
wrong.
really, really lasting impact, unfortunately. And I do think we are going to get a Hamilton musical
Oh
movie.
God, no! Don't.
If there's a movie, it's like it's either Phantom of the Opera, which we already got, which is not that
100
great,
times.
or it's Hamilton. Those are the only two options. And
I
really, really hope it's not going to be Hadestown, which is like one of the ones that
Oh
is
no.
made for the stage. It's not made for movies. It's made for the stage. I would be mildly curious as to how they do it, but I'm afraid it's going to involve so much CGI that I'm not interested in seeing the final product. So I do think that it's going to have a lasting consequence of just ruining everything.
I don't know. I don't know. Wasn't Sweeney Todd like really successful? And that didn't really go anywhere?
Mildly successful.
Mildly successful? I hate that movie, by the way. I just hate it so much. Because both leads have all the charm of a charnel house and all the like they have no chemistry. No, and like when I watched the stage musical with Patti LaPue, it was over for me. I was like,
they can't do, what was the other one? They can't do shit. There was another one. Oh, they can't do Heathers. They can't do Heathers.
Oh no. I saw this animation.
Make the movie of the musical that was of the movie, which I would hate. Again.
There was something that I saw on YouTube. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, my main thing is that like because people are saying that Wicked is in talks of getting the Best Picture.
Insanity.
Oh God, don't say that, please.
Just utter bananas.
Oh God, my head.
I really feel like I stepped into the Twilight Zone when I saw Wicked, because I was like, what is everyone talking about? Like, why do people think that this is good? It's such a frustrating experience because the story is nothing, the visuals are nothing, the choreography is mildly okay, but it's better than the original. And then the only highlights were like Michelle Yeoh, who's barely in it, Jeff Goldblum, who's barely in it, and Jonathan Bailey, who is also technically barely in it. I mean, Peter
Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage like gives his all, but he's the goat. So
and he is like again. And the thing is, right? So what basically what I was trying to think is like all of these things. If you're gonna make a movie that's like twice as long as the actual stage production, all these things you could have bolstered almost all of this with small little beats you could have taken from the book without destroying or impugning what people like about the musical. Like Fiyero, he's barely in it, right? But you could have given his character so much more life if you added in the fact, like, not a white guy, first of all, sorry, Jonathan Bailey, but also like, you know, could add in the fact that he's maybe he is like he is like this he has this whole thing where like life is more painless for the brainless. Maybe he's thinking that way because maybe he thinks. I didn't finish my thought, but maybe he thinks that way because, you know, he realizes that he is just a figurehead propped up by the wizard, and that his life really has no meaning other than just to be like, oh, the guy who rubber stamps the wizard's orders on his country. He's the prince, right? But he's like, everything he does is for Oz anyway, of a different country, right? And so they make this way, like he detaches himself. Like you have a little scene where he's like, he plays Elphaba, a heart-to-heart moment where he's like, you know, he's vain and he just cares about what's in the moment because he realizes that he has no power. If he does anything to, like, you know, assert himself, that puts his family at risk, you know, because they rule at the behest of the wizard. So something like that, a quick little scene could have done wonders for his character, made that song more impactful than just like a fun, catchy song. And all the characters could have been bolstered by like a 1% from something from the book like that, and you have a stronger story with stronger themes.
Okay.
Yeah.
hang on. I had this note here. Yeah, if I could like just talk about what I would have done to just one make a few scenes work a little better. If that's not if I mean, if that's okay.
Hmm.
Just like two or three things here that I had written
No
down.
problem. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, the Scarecrow, because that's what I'm going to call him because I can't pronounce his name to save my life. Apparently, I think it would have been better if he was either cut altogether, or like you said, he has this. Yeah, it's best to be brainless and not think about anything, just dance through life. And his character. I'm sorry. But you know what? I'm like, the more I thought about it, the more I felt like you probably could have just cut him altogether and maybe made Glenda's arc more about, I don't know, getting woke. Basically, I mean, like, it's basically the same arc, but like it's more of a side character thing. Um, and it should actually be a thing, not just like it shouldn't just be telling you that she's getting it. I mean, you're not. I don't know how to say this, but like you get that in the movie, but you don't get it. She's not getting better at all. She's
Nothing in the
still
character.
an
She's nothing in the
empty,
movie.
brainless nothing.
She's nothing in the movie.
And yeah, and I think that should be her character arc. Is I think you could give dancing through life to her, honestly. And I feel like there needs to be more of a connection with Nessa Rose and Elphaba because it's just not there.
She's only like
There is
you only share
totally
like two
agree.
scenes together. You only share like two
The-
scenes together.
And they're
train station. The
very
train.
antagonistic to each other the entire time. Like there's meant to be like some sort of familial love there, and you get none of that.
Oh, we're talking
Right.
about familial love, and I told was mentioned at the beginning of this discussion. Her father is probably one of my favorite characters in the book because
Done dirty.
for like he is like the POV of like the first 10% of the book, just his perspective, and he is really I don't say he's a great father, but he's just a bisexual king doing his best. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, like he's doing his best. Like obviously he's in the book, Munchkinland is a matriarchy. Okay, so he's not like the governor of Munchkinland. But technically, his wife
Insane change.
exactly.
Insane change to me.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Especially for your girl boss narrative movie. Like okay.
Right.
it's a matriarchy through Alphaba's line. Like her mother technically should be the ruler of Munchkinland, but she
Yeah.
basically advocated to marry like her husband, Alphaba's, like a situational father, because obviously the wizard is her father, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
So basically, so technically she's meant to be next in line, unless she advocates or whatever. Anyway, but he's trying his best, and I love the book because he's like a very zealous, very traditionalist minister, right? So he loves Alphabet, but it conflicts with his like religious beliefs, and he's trying to find like a good middle ground, and I just hated the fact that he has two scenes in the movie, and one
He's
is
such a bastard.
one is being just a complete dickhead to Alphabet, who in the book he really does love. He really does love her, like so
Yeah,
much.
it's
It really pissed me off.
I don't understand why everyone hates her.
Right?
Everybody hates her. Even
This is
Nessa,
odd.
who's supposed to be like her solace, gives her nothing but grief the entire time. Like, I get that she wants this to be like her big separation from her father, where she feels like she's being overbeared on by her father. But at the same time, it's like, girl, she's not going to do anything. She wants you to be happy too. Like, why are you hating on her the entire time?
Right.
She's just, I don't know. Anyway.
I'm sorry.
I mean, like, I feel like, again, you could have the same effect by just having him be so, like, by having him be so, like, coddling of Nessa Rose that he forgets about, like, Alphabet a little bit in that scene.
Mhm.
But no, he's like, just do what I say, girl.
Right.
And like just asshole. Like, why you don't have to make it even such an asshole, Like,
You don't have to be awful.
I did have this thing in my head where, like, he's there, and First of all, I think they should both be going to college because,
That's what I'm saying,
you
yeah.
know, I don't know why she just like accidentally goes to
not.
college.
There's no
Okay.
reason for her not to, because even with
Right?
the whole idea that like her dad is blocking her from going
Shouldn't
to
you want her
college,
to
or,
go
like,
away if you don't like her?
that's exactly right. Like you would just send her away, send her somewhere where you don't have to deal with her. Like that, there's no rational explanation for him to not love her,
Right.
anyways, and B, to just keep her holed up in the house where you can berate her the entire time.
Right?
Like you
What is his
don't like
deal?
her. Like it's never explained. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that scene at the beginning where he's like dropping off both of them. That drop both of them. And he's like, you know, I like the scene actually where he's like grabbing her wheelchair. He said, help me. He's like, don't grab her wheelchair. She doesn't like that. Don't do that. You know, he's like, I'm just trying to protect. I would have kept that. He's like, Dad, come on. We can handle ourselves. We're fine. And like, you know, he thinks he's trying to be nice, trying to be good. He might like tell Elsa, but he's like, all right, just keep a low profile. You know how people can be. You know, like something like that.
Passive
I would
aggressive.
have been
In the
fine.
book, yes. In the book, that's his level. Like he is passive aggressive. Basically, at the end of the novel, before Elphaba is killed by Dorothy, the murderer, is he basically his last words to Elphaba are like, you know, you should have been the one to rule Munchkinland, not your sister. She was too like fair and fragile. You're strong and you're tough. You could take it. Like so, he's very passive aggressive. Like he's basically saying like because of everything she's been through, like she could handle all the pressures, not Nessa. So that's like
Not Nessa.
that's basically like his last words to her, and she just, you know, obviously she takes it badly because it's very passive aggressive. I think he's not perfect in the book, but like that's the kind of thing.
She's human.
Exactly, he's human. He's a human guy.
And he's not in the musical. He's a cartoon character in the music. Hold on, October. Did you know, like in the book, Nessa Rose has no arms?
And that's why she's in a wheelchair, because she can't balance herself, not because she's
Which I don't know how that works. I'm pretty sure people with no arms can walk.
I think that's true.
That's how
it works in the book.
Yeah,
no, I know how this. No, I get that, but that doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
I know what you mean.
It doesn't. It doesn't. I was like, what's going on here? But so that made us wonder, like, overall, I think that's a net good change the musical made, or she just.
Yes. Okay. So maybe this should segue into good things that the musical either didn't include or changed.
Yes.
So, you mean hold on? Do you mean the musical, the movie, or the musical stage?
The musical play and also the movie, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. If I just wanted to say something, because this often gets overlooked, but you know, I really do genuinely like that they got an actress who is disabled to play Nessa Rose. It's not a high bar to hurdle, but you know.
Again, same thing with getting a black woman to play Elphaba.
Yeah,
it does. And I will say, even getting Peter Dinklage to play Dr. Dillamond, because I was thinking about that, like, sort of metatextually, because it's like they both can bond over being oppressed in different ways.
Right.
Because
just not much of it, but it's there.
Oppressed in different ways. Again, there is some thought put into this.
To the casting.
To the casting specifically.
Yeah.
But everything else just falls apart.
That's what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah, just the casting, nice. But the story
doesn't. We're trying to be
nice. Like I said, it deserves to get praised because first of all, it's a bar that's not being met so often.
Correct. That's why I need to acknowledge it, because there are so many times that we've had people who like we just had it again. Someone someone who is a cis heterosexual man being casted to play a trans woman in Squid Game.
Yeah, Squid Games. Yeah.
And like this
Squid
is Squid Game, yes. So
I know what you're talking
about. Getting another season, and they casted a cishet man to play.
They're stretching that concept.
They really are. But anyway, yeah. So we even still like we have to give laurels where laurels are due. I think in this case,
Yeah.
casting Peter Dinklage as Dr. Dillamond, who is an ostensibly oppressed creature, that should go noted. Like I was like,
Yeah.
that's really impressive. That's really smart.
It's bare minimum.
Especially because you
But
can
not
like
people are
you can
meeting it.
really tell that when him and Cynthia Erivo are talking, they have that shared connection of like we're not the same, but we're both oppressed, and we recognize that. Which I also sort of feel with Fiyero, because Jonathan Bailey is a gay man, and I see Fiyero. I think you guys were being very harsh on Fiyero personally, but
I don't know. I think being harsh enough. I'm sorry. Like,
okay. But
I'm sorry, but no.
I
in
will
the
say.
musical specifically is what I mean.
Well, I mean,
Because-
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I'll let you. One sentence. I swear, just one sentence.
No, go ahead.
It felt really strange. Again, he's a marginalized ethnicity in the book, and they say like, well, Winky is an ethnic slur. It's Vinkus. We're Vinkus people, and so it felt really weird for the musical to make that a white guy, and he's like, oh, I'm from the Winkies. Oh, that felt really weird. Felt really weird.
No, that is a good point to make. But in the musical, even as Fiyero has this bravado about him, there is meant to be at least this core of like someone who really cares about marginalized people, even if it is a white guy, which again,
excuse me,
like caters to the white savior narrative that is just terrible. But I do think that there is a core of Fiyero who is meant to be like a good person, like even more so than Glinda, because Glinda, she could arguably have like a tiny grain of sand that is like meant to be a good person inside of her, whereas Fiyero, I think, has like an actual like core of like I care about marginalized, and that's what connects him to Elphaba in the musical, at least, is that like he does genuinely care, and that's why he has the scene where they rescue the lion cub and all this other stuff. And I think personally that Jonathan Bailey pulls it off, and I think it's because he's a gay man. Like he can tap into that sort of like, again, shared oppression, intersectionality, I guess, that he, Cynthia Erivo, and Peter Dinklage all experience to varying degrees. And I just find that thoughtfulness in the casting, and I don't know, again, they probably just casted Jonathan Bailey because he was in Bridgerton and he was very, very popular in Bridgerton and in Jurassic World, apparently. I didn't know he was in that.
He's gonna be in a new one.
Oh, okay. I didn't know this. But I do think that was more of a jumping on thing. Because Cynthia Erivo, she didn't come out of nowhere, but she's not as talked about as Ariana Grande or Jonathan.
I honestly didn't hear about her until this movie came out. I mean, I'm sure I've seen her in something because I see so much stuff.
She was in Bad Times at the El Royale, which I thought was really good.
Right. No, I remember her. I love that movie.
At least I think she was good in it. It's a very strange
What part
movie.
was she in?
She was the black woman who
The singer.
Yeah.
I loved her in that movie.
It's a good movie. It was cute.
I feel like I like the movie a lot, but it felt like a very exacting adaptation of a long novel.
Yes,
it did. Yeah.
I would read the book to this.
Straight up.
Before we watched the movie, I like the movie. But
I honestly thought there was a book.
The book was probably really good. Is my thought that went through after I finished watching it.
Yeah.
Even though I know.
Yeah.
Because I like the movie, but like the book that it probably in another universe exists is probably really good.
But,
I could have sworn on a stack of. Oh, go on.
But I'm just saying that there is this thoughtfulness to be put forth towards the casting that clearly wasn't done to any real adaptation of, especially when you're combining part of the book with the musical. You could have fixed the issues that the musical had while still maintaining the musicality of it. When you suggested scrapping Fiyero, in my brain, I was like, yes, you should do that. But if you
Yes,
did
thank
that,
you.
it would ruin the musical. Like the musical
You're
is
right.
so corely focused on the
The male characters.
not the male characters, but the
Mm.
love triangle specifically.
No, oh yeah, yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
The love
Well,
triangle that doesn't
kinda.
exist, that shouldn't exist. That's what the,
Well,
Mhm.
correct, but you're directly at odds with the book.
right. So
Then you're directly at odds with the book because it doesn't exist in the book and it's not justified by the book at all. But in the musical, it exists because you have to cater to the cishet white audience, right?
yes.
So
So my
if you
thought
want to
is,
keep the wicked that people know,
Mm.
like the book, because they have this impossible task, right?
Mm.
Because you guys are very passionate about the book. I'm going to tell you, we know that a lot of people did not know this book existed before
Right.
the movie came out.
No, you're right.
So, like, you guys are coming at it from a creative angle where, like, the book is the most important thing, and I get it. I do, and I would probably agree with you guys. But
I'm
I
not
also
all the
know
way there.
from the theatrical perspective, the only thing people really know is the musical. And I'm not trying to be like, the musical is the important part. But like,
No. You're right.
I think that in order to make, I mean, again, I think this movie would have been successful regardless of what they did. But they have this really impossible task where they're trying to reconcile these two things that just can't be reconciled, right?
That's true.
Like, it just you can't reconcile the fact that there is now a love triangle where there wasn't one in the beginning. You just can't reconcile those things unless, again, you get rid of Fiyero entirely. But he's also present in the book, so like it would have happened regardless. I think.
Yeah, but there's a million characters that are present in the book. You could probably, I mean, they've already cut them. I feel like you could lose Fear, or at least change his name. I mean, there was another character, Averick. Yeah, just make him Averick.
But then you're adding more characters, and then you're adding someone that people
no, you're cutting.
You're just replacing him with Averick.
Yeah.
Same character.
But Fiyero is also present in the book, no?
Yes, but
but that doesn't mean he needs to be present in the musical.
But his personality in the musical is entirely Averick's. It's like, what if Averick became good instead of not like Goebbels?
Right, so just make him Averick.
But wait. So people know him as Fiyero, is what I'm trying to say.
That's true.
Yeah, but if you give him the same lines, the same songs, like, does it really matter?
It depends. Like, people are I think you severely misunderstand Wicked fans and how terrible.
That's true.
I told you my experience with Wicked fans. I know how terrible they are. I'm just saying,
but
like, you're saying, but like, it's like if people who got upset that they call, like, Sven Shiro in the Voltron cartoon remake, yes, they changed the name, but that's functionally the character anyway.
It is. I mean, it's true.
And I do think it sort of is weird because I do think that Wicked fans exist in a large capacity, but I also think they don't. Because again, how many people are spending thousands of dollars to go to Broadway? A lot of people can't do that.
I feel like you could. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, I'm just saying that, like, you could probably make a lot of changes to the Wicked story, but then you risk alienating the Wicked fans who you.
But is it that big now?
Wicked?
Yes,
is it?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the fan base who goes to see the musical, is it really that big?
I mean, they made a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Yeah, screw me.
And they're gonna do a re-release like in a couple of weeks or sing along.
Okay, look,
titles.
I just feel like
there's still an audience for Wicked.
I feel like there's enough where you could change.
It has like a 4.1 on.
Yeah, again, I totally understand what you were saying, October. I think Brian was about to say this as well, but like, yes, of course. The whole thing is that. Not that you would need to change it overall to make it good. I feel like you could change by like 1%. You could add like a 1% more faithfulness to it, and it would be a stronger film. Like, again, just add in that her father is not much of a jerk. Add in maybe a little bit more of Fiero's book backstory.
Yes.
Where he is basically just a figurehead of the wizard imperialism. Or something it's adding little bits. Like, the movie is already twice as long. Where is that coming from anyway? The movie seems pretty short, even though it's that long. Where is all this extra time coming from? It's insane.
I think there was a little more of the animal stuff, right?
this is the baffling thing, right? Because it's only the first act of the musical. You're not getting a complete story.
I can't tell what they added.
That they added. So we already discussed that they technically added they added the scene, at least, of the dad realizing that his wife had an affair, right? Like that, or the baby was green. I don't know if he ever realized that it was an affair.
The childhood was added, right?
These parts of the childhood were, the childhood was added because it directly cuts to them arriving at Shiz. That's
and Nanny,
what the musical does. So they added a bunch of unnecessary backstory, I guess. If you want to,
but if you're going to add backstory, here's an idea I had for the animal stuff, right? Where like maybe she sees like her nanny who was like a woman in the book who lives like to be like 200 years old in the book. All right, but she's a bear in the musical now. So if she's a bear in the musical, why not have a scene where you're really going to add stuff to her childhood stuff anyway, where like her nanny gets discriminated against, and then that is what gives her the drive to become an animal activist. Not like, oh, she stumbles upon a secret meeting in the bar. You know, like
that's what I was saying.
She's already like there. So again, it's like a 1% difference. You know, it doesn't really change the musical structure that much, but it adds a little more kind of substance.
Yeah, and I do think that it is severely lacking in the story territory. Like there's nothing compelling about really Elphaba, I would argue.
No,
Elphaba is meant to be the most compelling character, right? But she's just kind of nothing. Like, you guys are sort of right. She just sort of happens across the plot. Like, if the plot happens at her, she's never seeking it out.
I have a list of things that happened by accident. We mentioned the college. We mentioned coming across the animal collective. Anyway, I totally had accident that one. And we also by accident, she creates the flying monkeys by accident, which in the book is not an accident. In the book, she's implied to be the reincarnation of like a nature goddess of Oz.
Actually.
Right?
I just thought of something they could cut, by the way. That whole bit with the fucking wizards singing about the yellow, and then the yellow brick roads, like, I don't know what color the roads should be. And then she's like, ridiculous. Yellow. Yeah. And of course they give it to Glinda. Glinda's like, no, go back. It should be yellow. Like, who fucking knows what Glinda is saying? I'm sorry. She's not the main character.
Oh my god! And it's so great because in the book, and again, I keep in the book, the whole reason why the book the road is yellow is because it was like this like pre-revolution Russia kind of thing where like the Ozma's regent father was like basically like, oh, we need to show the opulence of Oz, so he started making a yellow brick road, and then eventually no one cared when he was deposed. So like again, you could add like maybe like a little extra backstory about that instead of that scene, and it gives the entire thing a little more flavor. But like, no, you're right, it's a completely worthless scene. Like, oh, is it red, blue? Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, and I really can't stress enough how much it bothers me that Glinda is so, especially important. Hearing you guys talk about the story, like the book itself. The book sounds cool. Like the way normies talk about the book, and by normies I mean Wicked stands who are like baby brained and are like 12 years old.
Did you see that tweet?
Where there's tiger sex in the book, and I'm like, yeah, it's a fictional fucking story. Can we move on? Like,
yes, and tigers are like people.
You
know? Yeah. So like, who cares? And then they have the whole thing where it's like, Elphaba's mom is raped, and it's like, yeah.
It's a bad thing.
Things happen. I'm sorry.
It's portrayed as a bad thing.
Not like, sexy and flirty like the musical.
That's right.
And half of them are reading. Sorry, this is a pet peeve of mine. Half of them are reading fucking romance novels that are like based in incest, which does entirely romanticize it. But that's neither here nor there. Anyways, but
and I also want to.
But Glinda being so centralized is the most infuriating thing because it's about Elphaba.
It's called Wicked.
Why? It's literally called Wicked. Everything is green, and I'm so pissed because I am almost positive that Ariana Grande signed a fucking contract about how long her fucking screen time was.
Hammer
because she is in
on the head.
everything ever. And I'm like, you're not the main character, bitch.
That's true. That's so true. You're so right.
You're not the main fucking character. You should have been Alphaba. And also, another thing, the beginning of the No One Mourns the Wicked.
No One Mourns the Wicked. Yeah.
Hear what the fuck she's saying.
Oh my god,
I can't hear it.
It's so soft. Like I hate this whole.
But she raised it in octave because
the live singing crap just needs to stop.
But she didn't sing. But Kristen Chenoweth and the Broadway production, it isn't sung like that. She just wanted to raise an octave because she wanted to show off how high her octave range was. Which, again, girl, it is not. You are not the star of the show.
Right.
I just don't like. I'm sorry. I don't know Ariana Grande personally, but from what I hear, she is so self-centered. She is entirely self-centered, and this is like. They gave her a silver fucking platter to do whatever she wanted, as long as she signed on. And I was like, this is so frustrating because
it's because they wanted that name.
Is so much weaker. The musical itself is weaker because she's dragging everything out and adding like unnecessary pauses and all this other shit. Like when she was doing Popular, I was like, get to the point. That's where the time comes in.
It was so underwhelming.
That's where the time comes in because Popular is like 45 minutes longer. Defying Gravity is like 500 years longer. Like it's all focused on her. Like again, and the musical is already super focused on Glinda, which like we don't need. But then in the movie, it's like exacerbated because you put in this. I'm gonna say it. She's kind of narcissistic, and made her the focal point. And it's frustrating. It's just frustrating.
What I hate about Defying Gravity, and I'm not sure if this is how the musical, the theater show plays it off, but in the musical, I wrote this. I was doing a live thread, watching the camera when I first watched it. Like I'll do a thread about everything I noticed that's just ridiculously terrible about the movie. And so near the ending, right? So in the book, I'm going to say this. In the book, I think this is actually a little bit more nuanced in the book, not relatively in terms of Glinda's character, but in terms of Glinda's function and purpose in the themes. In the musical, in the book. They don't figure out the Wizards of Fraud. They never figure out the Wizards of Fraud. The witch, Elphaba, and Glinda never figure out he's a fraud. Basically, they don't. Okay.
That's true.
Yeah, they never figure out he's a fraud. And so Glinda kind of like it goes back. Elphaba goes to join the rebellion and underground for animal rights, becomes a domestic terrorist, whatever. And Glinda goes back to college, and so she ends up like. She basically just goes through life. Like, Elphaba is doing her thing, and like, actually like trying to fight, make a difference, becoming an anarchist. She's doing like public demonstrations. She's like doing all this crazy stuff. And when she meets up back with Glinda again, Glinda is just basically just like her being a white upper class rich woman basically has insulated her from the political upheaval that's been going on within Oz. That Elphaba has been working to actually kind of overthrow. But in the musical and the movie I'm saying right here, they figure out he's a fraud. And at the end, Glinda's like just giving Madame Morrible like a hug, and she's like trying to get Elphaba. Like,
she came out of nowhere, by the way.
Like she's trying to tell your friend to back down, and she actually goes off to try to get her back down. Like this ruins Glinda as a character because it makes her an active participant in like in this social.
She's supposed to be passive.
Yeah.
Like she's not great in the she's not fighting the people's cause in the book, but like in the musical, she's actively like working for
aiding
the system.
And abetting.
Yeah, exactly. And like that ruins her character. It makes her evil. Okay, it makes her evil, I think.
And that's why the whole core thesis of them being besties doesn't work for me. Because it's like,
in love.
Even in like, the besties doesn't work. They're not. At least if Elphaba has a fucking brain in the musical.
Right.
Oh, God. Anyway. But yeah, so that's the core thing is that not be her. And that I think is also supplemented by the fact that she's so centered is that you're giving her stuff to do that just makes her into a villain. So like, and it's you could argue, I guess, that it's like intelligent because like, oh, Elphaba is painted as a villain when she was just this, but actually the real villain is white women. And it's like, I don't think that the movie supports that though, because the white woman wins everything all the time and she gets the center stage. And like, you wanted, and if you wanted to make that fucking point, you would have just done it the way it does done in the book. Like,
Right.
I think it's having your cake and eating it too. I think it's being very cowardly to handle that story that way because you're still centering whiteness. You're still centering fascism. You're still centering all this other stuff. It's almost an abomination of what the original book was standing for, from what I understand about it.
Right.
So, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just cynical. Maybe I'm just mean. Maybe I just hate Ariana Grande, which I do. But at the same time, it's like, this is not art. This is not art. This is slop. And it has been slop. And it's always been slop. And I think people are, I don't know. I really want to know what like a wicked, not like a diehard wicked person, but the people who I'm mutuals with on Twitter who are like, I think it's pretty good. And I'm like, why? Why? Like, where? Where is it good? Where is the good? Besides Jonathan Bailey, Michelle Yeoh, and Jeff Goldblum. Like, and Peter Dinklage. If you cut all that out, where is it? Because I don't see it. I just don't.
It's like that.
She said degreenify me, so that's powerful message.
That's the other
being green.
Why? That is so gross, actually. It legitimately pisses me off.
I know that she sort of walks it back, but like, are you fucking serious? You white people are being like, what if I just wasn't black? What if I just wasn't green? Like,
I don't know if you're both.
It's such a clumsy allegory.
It is.
Anyway.
I don't know if you're both. Excuse me for assuming. I don't know if you're both white.
No.
I'm white. I am white.
I'm not white.
Okay. What are you?
I'm Spanish, Latino.
Me too. Me too. And
sorry, not from Spain. Not from Spain.
You're right.
Spaniards.
Oh shit.
The idea. I'm sorry. The idea of somebody making a musical number out of wanting to change your skin color. I'm making it kind of cute, trying to make it cutesy.
Crazy.
I just wanted to punch something.
So fucking crazy.
And again, like it's like you have to walk back your character from being again like from being someone who already has a lot of like ideals, you know. So like, oh, actually, no, she doesn't. So that we can show that she
right.
It, but like, no, you could start a character off with ideals that get challenged, and then that's the story.
Right.
If you remove those ideals just so that you could have an easier start point, that just feels lazy.
I feel like there was a few places where they could have shown the origin of her ideals and the childhood portion.
Yeah, we just said that.
But that's
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's it. That's all you need, and then boom.
It wouldn't take a lot. It didn't. So like that's what pissed me off Wicked the musical a lot more, because when I watched, like, this isn't as I thought it was going to be, but the fact that it takes the easy route every single story and character point, it's just like, this is just like, you could, if they cared, you could have done something that just was 99% the musical, and then like one portion that was actually like really, really interesting. You could have done that.
Yeah.
But then of course, you know, the audience isn't people who want something interesting, because you know, I don't know if you've seen this tweet, you probably have, where a person was like, I only read 3 pages of Wicked, and I realized it was really too strange, too weird.
It's too weird. It's too dark. It's too scary.
I can't get behind any of the criticism behind it. And these people make of the book is it's all stupid.
So I know these people. It's like, it doesn't matter.
And so I actually went back. I actually took my copy, like, what, 3 pages, and then like, oh, it's the page that starts talking about the fact that that she's intersex in the book, and like, oh, so like, I guess so. Again, it's like people they want something twee. They want something like
they want something easy. They want like
cutesy.
cheap. They want cheap food. They want convenience. They don't want to be challenged. They like this is not why these people consume the art that they do. Like I'm gonna be mean again. This is why people listen to Drake. This is why people listen to Ariana Grande. This is why people like Taylor Swift. Like it's not challenging. It's familiar. It's what they know. It's nostalgia. It's like it's all of the stuff that makes us like feel comfy and cozy, and it's not really like making us smarter. It's sort of inoculating us and preventing us from really like expanding as people and growing as a society and all this other stuff. Like I
It's
think
all
people
ironically
should deserve to be comforted in specific ways, because a lot of these people are marginalized themselves, but in the same vein it's like at what cost? Like all of this, because people are, I think someone mentioned this on Twitter and I truly don't know who it is and I don't even remember the tweet, but I remember thinking about it. I was like, that's a fucking weird take, but I sort of see what they're saying now. And it's like this reliance on nostalgia and comfort and this like refusal to understand anything outside your view is fascism.
No,
it's just a fancy way of doing fascism.
Yeah.
It's like this is where MAGA comes in, like make America great again, like retreating to this idea that of America that doesn't exist, but is a comforting one and protects you, quote unquote. But you don't need protecting. Nobody is trying to harm you in the way that people think. Like that's why immigrants are not scary. They're normal people who are trying to escape atrocities in their own home, or they just want to move. Some of them just want to move, and that's fine. They're not stealing your jobs. They're not none of this. Like gay people are not scary. Like people of color are not scary. Trans people are not scary. That's why they all frame like everything as invaders or predators and shit like that, because it's all meant to like make it scary so they are comforted by like a big strong white man. Like that's what they want. They just don't want challenging stuff because they want to live in this fat, like, you know, Wall-E. Seminal film Wall-E.
Yes.
People talk about how like all like the fatness and all this other stuff, but it's the fact that they're glued to their TV, is not being challenged by anything. They're tuned into exactly what they want and all this other shit. And it's like they just want comfort. They don't want to be challenged. And this is why people like get mad about like video games, including Black people and women and all this other stuff. It's not the familiar. It's not what I'm used to.
Yes. And
you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I want to bring up this one quote and I'll let Brian talk. I think he's itching at something. But the one last quote I saw was that, and again, like that, it's perfectly, I think this perfectly sums up the worldview of those who just don't want to engage with the book. It was, I tried reading the book, but it was too focused on sexuality, which is weird for a book written by a gay man. And like that, is that weird for a gay man to be interested in sexuality? What are you talking about?
That take took a year off my life.
That gave me a year of life, actually. I think you gave it to me because that's one of the funniest and most. Like, I don't understand how you can be that unself-aware. I just don't understand. I don't understand that. Like, I can't relate to that level of ignorance. I can't.
Oh my God.
I feel like people who like not people who like people who think the musical is way better than the book. They're coming at it from the fact that like, oh, the musical is like this cute like gay best friend, you know? Like, oh, you know,
right.
It's what I'm safe. I feel safe around it because it's so unassuming and it's so fun and like, oh, but I can't. But that's it. It'll be my little pocket. It's like my little spice. It's like I'm just having a little bit of edginess.
But that's the thing is that like there is, because again, it's comforting to know that you're not part of the normal group, if that makes sense on a level too. Like you're just different enough, but you're not too different. You reel it back in, but you're still different enough to make yourself feel special, like a special little snowflake. All snowflakes are different, and it's like I get it. I want to feel special too, but at the end of the day, like I value I'm gonna be mean again. I'm sorry, but
Go
I
for
value
it.
intelligence. I value diversity. I value differing opinions. I
Yes.
value being challenged in my opinions because to me, that's how I grow as a person. That's how I understand. That's how I better understand the world, and that's how I became the person that I am today. Is by taking other opinions into fact. So when I say things like I want to know what the people who like Wicked see in it. I'm being serious. I really want to know why you think it's a good movie because I just don't see it. I see it as like
It's
a cotton ball. Like it's there and it's soft and it's fluffy, but it provides me nothing.
it's cotton candy ball. You eat it and it tastes good, but that's it.
No, to me, it didn't even taste good. It just was there.
Well,
Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a cotton flavored cotton candy ball.
it's just a cotton ball. Like it's
Right.
just there to be
No.
comforting. Like
I,
I don't know.
but see,
Maybe I just don't see the vision.
I
I
say
don't know.
cotton candy ball because it's also doing active harm. I would say.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. I do agree with that because I mean this is getting a little, I don't know, challenging perhaps, but
Yeah.
it does.
Mhm.
I do, like I said before, I do think this is
Heaven
going to
forfend.
lead to a downward spiral into more movie musical
Oh
territory,
God.
and like I think it's just going to keep happening. Like I think that because we said like the MCU did the exact same thing. It was just the same thing over and over.
You're
And
so
like
right.
I'm predicting that this is just going to if it does I mean it's doing gangbusters, but if it does well at the Academy, I think that's going to give people carte blanche to just do more movie musicals that are bland and non-challenging. I like and if I get into Hamilton, it is the most
Oh my God.
non-challenging thing in
No,
the
no,
world.
please.
We're
Oh
not going to talk about it because this is about Wicked, but it is one of the most non-challenging. It's worse than a cotton ball.
no, you're right.
It's just air. Like I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's so
Like,
true.
it's literally nothing. Like I don't like. I've never liked Hamilton. I like Daveed Diggs. I like
I
Daveed
like
Diggs.
I like Lin Manuel Miranda. He seems like a nice guy.
But he does not write anything of substance. I don't
I
think.
mean, like, yeah,
Well,
I know. Like, it's just like he seems so likable, but honestly, he's just so vapid.
he is very vapid. Daveed Diggs is like the one thing out of Hamilton that I appreciate because that's what got me into clipping, and I think clipping is one of the best rap groups in existence right now. And if you don't listen to clipping, you should listen to clipping. But
Oh,
anyway,
I'm so sorry. I wanted to because when you was talking about how people don't they find it weird that a gay man is so interested in sexuality and all. Oh, first of all, ew, cringe. That's one hell of a take. But I just
Michael
want to
Keaton
say,
jacking off motion. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I just want to say when like people were criticizing and this kind of touched slightly on kind of like I would say a semi what do you call it reasonable thing about the book is that it did. I mean, there are a lot of minors in this book that, and I don't know. There was one scene where Lear, that's Elsaba's son. Yeah, he has a son in the book, by the way.
okay.
Is getting CPR. He got CPR, and the author says that basically Lear feels funny in his pants, and he's a child. And I was like, I don't know. That kind of like it made me a little uncomfortable, I guess. But you know what? Even that. Uh, these are. Yeah, have you been a teenager? Have you been a
I was
kid?
just about
You
to
are
say,
stupid and
like,
horny and dumb, and you do stupid, horny, dumb, and think cringy, horrible, dumb shit.
my unpopular opinion is that people moralize about children's sexuality far too much for my kid.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that deep.
No.
And I'm not trying to say that
Right.
you do, but I do sort of have a bone to pick with this topic because like kids feel sexual urges, and I don't think people want to reckon with that because people
Right.
acknowledge that pedophilia pedophilia exists, and it sucks because children cannot consent, but that does not stop them from feeling bodily urges. And teenagers especially feel bodily urges. And when people bring up the Romeo and Juliet law, I'm like, that is for teenagers. It's between teenagers. It's only ever meant to be between.
I'm getting flashbacks to Transformers.
Sorry, but like it's teenagers are allowed to have sex. I'm sorry, they are.
They are.
I don't want them to have babies
with other teenagers.
We also make them. We need to. If a teenager gets pregnant, we need to make it okay for that teenager to have that child if they want to keep that child.
Thank you.
We need to make it safe and comforting, and they need to have a safety net of some sort if they want to keep that child. But it's at the end of the day, it's the child's choice. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
it needs to be an informed choice.
It should be an informed choice. And I'm not talking like 11-year-olds. I'm talking like 15, 16, 17, like people who ostensibly could theoretically raise a child, especially
that's when you're
17-year-olds. But like, I hesitate to talk about this because I think about when I was a 15-year-old and I was like, I don't want to raise a kid. And a lot of kids don't want to raise a kid, but they also should have the option to abort the child if they don't want the child. Because some children do. I knew a girl who was 16 and got pregnant and wanted to keep the baby. So like, what am I going to do? Am I going to tell her no? Like, I'm not her parent. What does it matter what I think? Because I'm not the one having the baby. And
it's
there
a
are
right
plenty of people who have children when they're like 16, 17, 18 years old. And like, if we really want to have a discussion about children's sexuality, we need to talk to them about it.
Yes.
Talk to them about it. We need to properly prepare them. We need to give them condoms, and we need to give them the talk, and we need to be like, hey, these actions have consequences, and you really need to know that it will be life-changing if you get pregnant and you want to keep it. We have to have these discussions with these kids. And I think, honestly, him doing that in the book shows that he is wanting to broach that discussion.
And I just wanted to say, there was a scene in the book where, I remember when I was young, I would go outside and I would swim, and I would have this thought in my head. I was like, oh, what if a girl saw me? That'd be cool. And she was like, this was towards the end, and no, not towards the end, but like Camerco, I think that's the name of the place. The castle that
Kamiko,
and it was being occupied by, I think, Winky guards or something, like soldiers or something.
No, just soldiers. They were
soldiers.
Yeah,
right. Soldiers. And there was a scene in which Nor. Oh damn it! I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names.
What scene you don't talk the name. Just tell what the scene's about.
Okay, whatever. One of the scarecrows, play Scarecrow, not
I know.
Whatever. A kid is in there, and she sort of gets topless and puts on the like a cloak that one of them has, and she thinks to herself, "Oh man, what if one of them walked in and saw me? That'd be pretty cool." And I felt so seen. I was like, "Oh god, that's so cringe. That's me." And I feel
But that's sort of what I mean, is that everyone, like when I was 17, I was wanting to have sex with guys, and like I don't know, like I think it's fine for kids to want to explore that, but I also think we need to arm them so that way they don't get stuck in situations where they feel unsafe. And but also, there's a queer layer to this, where as a gay man in gay circles, gay men frequently have sexual relations with older men because that's the only time they feel accepted. And it's not cool, but it happens. And we need to talk about it. And the fact that we don't talk about it, the fact that every time we bring up Call Me By Your Fucking Name, everyone's like, oh, it's about grouping. Like, yeah, we know. We know this.
Because that's available for him. That's the only pathway available for him to explore it.
Exactly. And that if the only way for you to explore your sexuality or explore yourself is going to put you directly in harm's way, then maybe we need to talk about it.
Sure, like to change it.
maybe we should change that. Maybe we should make
Thank
it easier
you.
for them to explore that in safe environments where they don't get groomed, where they don't get abused, where they don't end up with weird, freaky men. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think, like, when people talk about that shit in Wicked and the book and stuff like that, it just shows how narrow-minded they are.
Mhm.
Like,
That is true.
they can't comprehend of a world that they are not the focus, that they are not the central narrative, that their experience is not the experience that everybody feels all the time forever.
Heteronormativity.
It's
What it's
so
all about.
frustrating because if you talk to gay men, they'll talk about this shit. No, they're not quiet about it. They talk about it all the time. Like, yeah, I knew guys who were straight men who were like, yeah, I had sex at 13, and then they don't ever comprehend what the fuck that means. Like, that's not okay.
That's so depressing.
Don't talk about exactly, and they're like, yeah, she was 18 and I was 13, and I was a big man. I got to fuck an adult as a 13. Like, that's fucked up. That's evil.
I want to ask you.
Like, but they don't want to talk about it.
I wanted to ask you a question. I'm not necessarily opposed to age gap relationships, as long as it's two adults, and it really depends on how like mentally adult the younger person is. You know what I mean? I feel like at the age of 18 has become very fetishized.
Here's the thing.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
In my honest opinion, it's not my fucking business. It's just not.
Yeah.
And if you're 23 and you want to date a 45-year-old man, you can make that decision, but you have to deal with the fucking consequences if there are any.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there aren't. Sometimes 45-year-old men are fine. They're not all predators. And I don't mean to be like it's not all men, because men do enable some shit. But at the end of the day, I have met men who are fine. They're just normal guys. There's this weird narrative that has pervaded the queer community that all men are inherently predatory and they're all rubbing their hands together trying to figure out how to ruin women's lives. And it's like, I don't know, some of them probably do that, but I don't think a lot of them do. I think a lot of them are just fucking stupid. Like, I don't know.
That's true.
And I do think that they fall into these traps of like being misogynistic because misogyny pervades all of society. But at the end of the day, I don't think we should blame them for that necessarily. I think they should own it and learn from it and grow. But if you're just attacking people constantly, how do you expect them to grow?
Right.
When you're feeling defensive all the time. Like, I don't know.
I did want to say that is the biggest thing. Like, to me, the book is about how marginalized people are often pushed into a situation where they have no choice but to do bad things because they got no other way of getting anything, and that getting what they want done. You know what I mean? And then they're turned into the villain. Everyone wants to talk about the crime rates in the black community or this community or that community. Nobody wants to talk about why it's happening or how it gets to that point, because you push them into that point.
Yep. That's why
you push them into those situations.
Not to flex, but I was part of the George Floyd protests when
you
that
flex.
was the whole thing. Yeah, not a flex. I was actually really, really cringe as a white person at a predominantly black area. But in the same vein, I learned a lot from that experience because I was a Glinda. I was censoring myself on a level because as a white person, you sort of can't avoid doing it for whatever reason. Because society teaches that you are the most important person in the room all the time, forever. And it's like, I don't know. There was one time where I was not invited to speak, but anyone could speak, and then I spoke, and I have regretted it ever since. So.
No, I get that feeling.
I just said some cringy shit, and I shouldn't have said anything, and I made it about myself, and I shouldn't have done that. So, like, I'm passionate about this shit because of the fact that I have been that person. I have been a shitty person who centered myself, and it was unnecessary. The one thing I've learned as a white person in predominantly marginalized areas is that, like, I don't need to be the focus.
Right.
My opinion is not always necessary. Like, I really appreciate being invited into this, but I recognize I'm a white person. I'm a skinny white person. I'm a feminine white person. And I recognize these things about me, so people value my opinion more for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, I'm just some guy. Like, I'm just someone who has a lot of
Right.
thoughts and doesn't shut the fuck up. Like,
That's me. Are
like
you
I
single?
just, I
I'm
don't
joking. I'm
know.
joking.
But like, no, like I've learned a lot over the course of my life, and I wish people were more like me and they saw books like Wicked and were not fucking weird about it.
Open yourself up. I feel like that guy from Total Recall. Open your mind. Open your
Yeah,
mind.
I
Oh my
it's very
god.
frustrating to hear these conversations going around because I do want to dismiss it, but I know that it's feeding this idea that like women are frail and baby and children don't know anything
God.
and all this
Which is
other stuff.
ironically the position of the not or the wrong characters in the book who are framed as wrong.
Yeah. That's the and
God.
that's I don't know.
It's
Like
irony. It's
it,
just you can't make this shit up.
I mean, that's what Wicked has become, though. It's in the same vein as what are those books? The Hunger Games. Like it was made ostensibly about marginalization, and then it just
Okay.
got usurped into
I just
capitalism and made into the dominant narrative. Like
I
that's why
just
I
want
find it
I'm sorry.
frustrating. No, go
I'm
ahead.
having my sound's cutting out, so I'm trying to. All right, hello.
Hello?
No, you weren't cutting out.
Okay.
We heard you from the first all the time.
Okay. Well, I couldn't. No, I couldn't. No, I couldn't hear you guys for a second.
No problem.
Anyway, all right. Anyway, I think it's the mic. The mic's not very good. I mean, the headset. Anyway, damn it. What was I gonna say? Curse you, Mike. Now go on.
All right.
I don't have
Yeah.
anything else.
Me
Well,
neither.
actually, I just wanted to steer it back to, I was going through going over it in my head 1,000 times. What could I do to make and I was asking the wrong question. I said, what can I do to make the musical great? And I said, don't make it. Don't make it. Because it's just from the very, all the songs, all of it. It really is tailor made for a white upper class, like you know what I mean. Like it's just not gonna work for what I'm looking for, what I want this to be. So yeah, it just comes down to it. It's just not gonna work for me anyway. Like obviously it is making gangbusters and it's like has an audience, but that's like what I want from it ain't a music ain't the musical.
I think at the end of the day, it is something that is out of our control, but we sure can yell about it and try to make people understand that there is
Yeah.
something good, like in the weirdness, because weird people, people don't like the unknown, don't like anything that's different or strange, and that's why racism exists. That's why queerphobia exists. That's why a lot of in the world is happening because at our base, humans do not like to be challenged and don't like to experience outside groups. If that makes
That's
sense,
true.
it's like a human trait. Like you can fight against it and you can become like woke, I guess is the best way to talk about it. But like at the end of the day, I feel rage and anger and a sort of hatred towards these people who refuse to, but I also know that it's not them. Like
it's ignorance.
A lot of it is willful ignorance, I will say. Like these people
That is true,
like
yeah.
the people who you were saying earlier were like, I read 3 pages and I stopped because it challenged me too much. Like that is willful ignorance to me, and that's what I can't abide by. Like the people who like to be in their little echo chambers and their little bubbles, and they don't like to be challenged. They want to be surrounded by fluff all the time, forever. Like, I don't know. I just can't relate to that mentality.
I did
And
want to ask. Oh, sorry.
no, that's all I had to say.
No, no. Oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I did want to ask both of you because one, I don't feel like the musical is very good, and but I do think maybe this does open it up to the book, possibly like the actual book, possibly getting an
Oh,
adaptation.
never. Would never happen.
Never,
No,
nah, never happened.
no,
All right,
No,
I
'cause,
felt like I was
no,
like, oh,
I feel like
way to
I
snuff out the only hope.
no,
unless well, I would say that
Fuck your hope, Brian.
unless
No,
it
it's go
was
on.
people like you guys who are passionate about the book,
Yeah.
maybe, but it couldn't be called Wicked. It couldn't be called
Hmm. Maybe the life and times
oh,
of the
yeah.
Wicked Witch.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think.
That's a subtitle because the thing is, and I should have before the musical and the move and the book have two different subtitles. Like the Wicked musical has a subtitle, "The Secret History of the Witches of Oz," and then
I had no
the
idea that
Wick,
was a subtitle.
you know, subtitle in the original posters, the Wicked, The Secret History of the Witches of Oz, right?
Ugh.
Or the Untold Story of the Witches of Oz. I think one of those two. And the Wicked, the book has the subtitle, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. And so, like, I feel like that kind of basically on its own face shows the difference, the ideological aims and the differences of that from the musical and the book. Like, this is like, oh,
Right.
like this is like, ooh, the untold saucy story, and then this is like, Life and Times. Like, this is more. It'll be a little more grounded in the ways that count, because even it's crazy. Like people like John Chu and all that stuff. Where it's like, oh, you know what? We're trying to make it a little more grounded, more realistic. But like you're doing it in all the
Wrong ways.
wrong
unnecessary
ways.
ways.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have this one
Okay.
where which is ostensibly more fantastical, but it's actually more relatable in a lot of different ways.
Just a dog, my dog. I wanted to. Okay, so we've established an adaptation of the book not happening. It's total fantasy. Probably
I
not
don't
happening.
think it's impossible per se. I think it would be closer to a fan project,
Yeah.
or it
Right.
would really. I'm struggling to think that there would be any like big
Man.
producer backing it. You know what I mean?
I would like to ask you guys if you had like a reality warping orb, and well, first of all, you probably end a lot. You probably do a lot more important things than bring a Wicked adaptation to life. But like let's just say you had your choice. How would you adapt it?
Well, I'll
How
just
would I
adapt it.
adapt it?
No, just adapt it.
Adapt.
What
Like, I know,
kind
but
of
like
question is that? What kind of question is that?
I mean, that's okay. I get just adapt it, but like, I mean, how would you do it? Like a mini series or a movie? Like
Yeah,
what?
miniseries,
Probably a show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I would make it a show, maybe a book a season. I think you could squeeze it out. And here's the thing, huh?
Yeah, like, I feel like you could squeeze in like the second and third books into one season because the third book doesn't really do anything.
I feel like you could put the fourth book. No, wait, no, that is the third book. Yeah, no, is that Lion Among Men?
Yeah.
Yeah, I told people I was like, this really could be a short story.
Yeah.
It does not need to be a whole ass book. But anyway, yeah, I feel like what I would have done, like, if I lived in fantasy world and I got to do whatever I want, it would have been, I would have gotten the guys who did Adventure Time to animate this, because I feel like the pacing of the book really would work great as like the comedy. Honestly, like a straight adaptation of the L. Frank Baum novels would work great with the I mean, it's the same timing, really, pace as the Adventure Time, and I think you could do the same thing with damn it, Wicked. No, that's just me. It would have to be for adults. I mean, it'd have to be, but I mean, they've done that. I mean, right now, Fiona and Cake is really more for an adult audience. It could work.
I think that if I were to think about something like of that scale, I think about like the One Piece live action adaptation a lot because of how good it is as an adaptation of an anime and a manga.
Is that the live action adaptation you said?
Yeah.
Yes, the live action adaptation of One Piece is really fucking good. It's one of the better ones, especially for a Netflix joint. There's issues with it. They skip over some things that I think it's
hard. It's
Anyway,
hard. There's a
exactly.
lot.
This is what people need to understand about adaptations. I think it's sort of unjustified with Wicked, but there is going to naturally be things that are cut, things that are amalgamed, things that are sidelined, and just not made as important because it's an adaptation. It's like a book is not going to be a one-to-one to a musical, to a movie, to anything. And I think diehard fans of the book are going to be upset with an adaptation no matter what, because it's not going to be a one-to-one, because if it was a one-to-one, it would be 10 hours long. And that's a really long time to be sitting in a theater. But in the same vein, I think Wicked is a bad adaptation of the book. And the movie is a bad adaptation of the musical, because the movie doesn't have what made the musical great, and the musical doesn't have what makes the book great, if that makes sense. So it's just a watering down of an original concept that just got worse and worse over time.
Next up, Wicked, the audio play.
If it doesn't exist.
Well, maybe. Yeah. I just wanted to apologize, by the way, for interrupting. The mic is. I mean, my the sound here is like it. Well, you know what? There's no excuse. I'm sorry for interrupting so much. I'm just so excited, and
no problem.
I feel like a dick. I really do, and I hope I'm not being a dick. Anyway,
just take. We're all trying to be casual here.
And actually, I was wondering. Oh yeah. Have we sold you on the book yet? Has anybody sold you on the book?
I do want to read the book. Like, once you said it was queer, I was like, like.
It's really queer.
It is. It's insane.
I was so happy to get that I found when I found out she was intersex. I was like, oh, that's new.
I love
an intersex person.
Queer cinema, queer stories, queer understandings of the world.
I am currently writing and drawing my own comic book, and it's queer as hell. And it's like, the more I think about it, the more I think about it, the more I think that Wicked and its subsequent sequel books really influenced me a lot. Like, to a ridiculous amount.
Anyway,
go on.
Yeah. All right. So I feel like we've basically tapped the keg here.
Yeah.
I don't think you can make it work. It's just the musical doesn't work.
Well, not just that. I feel like we've covered the bases in general. Not even just that. Just like we understand the musical works as its own pop piece, as well. But even that, it depends on what level you're willing to engage with art. I think that's the real question. What level you're willing to engage with it, on a realistic level, or are you just in it to just find a fun, puffy pastel rom-com.
I think that we're seeing that people prefer the pastel rom-com.
That's always been true.
Of
That's
course.
always been true.
But I think people are sort of having that reckoning now, because us specifically, we're like, how can people like this? And everyone loves it.
But also because they're also again, I think the root cause is that they're also conflating it with being heavy with actual themes. Like, if people this was just a fun little rom-com thing, that's fine. But you have people saying, oh, this is a hard-hitting homoerotic romance, or this is a really hard-hitting anti-fascist message, or if they just want it as a rom-com, they want a sugary kind of thing.
They want it gutless. They don't want to be challenged.
Exactly, but they want to believe that something is also full of spirit and idealism. That's also how you get people who say Deadpool 3 is a really strong game.
Oh, please don't remind me.
It's the same thing where they don't want something that actually is about that kind of theme, but they want it to pretend it's about that kind of theme, even if it's just a generic kind of Hollywoodized movie,
I feel like I'm just tired of settling for subtext. I want text, please.
Oh, I mean, here's the thing that I've realized about what what people recommend to me in movies. I watched 10 Things I Hate About You. I'd never seen this movie before. I did not grow up with this movie. It is a movie that I was pretty unfamiliar with. I knew it was a Shakespeare adaptation, but I was like, it's probably fine. And then I watched it, and it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I have never seen it, and from what I've heard, I don't want to see it.
I like it, but it's also not good. It's also, again, it's definitely that kind of thing where you
sees him.
If you did grow up with it, it's like if you're like at that sweet spot of like 12, 11, and you watch this,
Yeah.
and like then it's like if it were like a little bit less like she gets drunk at the party, if she was a little bit less like that, it'd be a Nickelodeon movie. Okay.
Yeah, like that. It's gutless. It's just gutless. And I can't tell you how many people recommended it to me. They were like, "Oh, it's so cute. It's so fun."
Exactly. It's cute. And so if you're a kid, it'd be fine.
Because I think of films that I watched as a kid, like Clueless and Legally Blonde, and those are cute movies, but they're also good movies. Like,
The Different Man. I'm sorry.
I had like that. Like, I had this weird thing where I would watch all kinds of movies. Like a latchkey kid, I said at the beginning of this whole stream, where like I give his library card, do whatever while family's working or you're after school, whatever. So I gotta say, I would watch ridiculous things like, and my favorite movies growing up as like a kid, like 7, 8, okay, was Chuck and Buck by Mike White. You know, have you guys ever seen Chuck and Buck?
I've heard of it.
I'm like an 8 and 9-year-old. Okay, it's by Mike White. Mike White's the guy who created The White Lotus. He played Ned Schneebly in the Willow Rock movie. You know, he's that guy. You know, the ginger guy. He's white haired now, but like no swirly ginger guy. Yeah, he's a gay writer, director, and an actor. So like I watched the movie for the first time like 8, 9. This VHS guy from it's about this guy who is a deeply like sheltered man-child who after his mother dies, he decides to move across the country to reconnect with his old friend, childhood best friend, who he once had like a quick like youthful childhood like fling with like you know, and that steered in my head for 8 years, and it took me until like 10 years after that to realize I was bisexual. But like I was watching that movie like nonstop for like a good year. Chuck and Buck. I love Chuck and Buck. It's a really, really good little indie movie about that kind of stuff.
That's cute.
Yeah, exactly. So I watch so like
that's so nice.
I could enjoy stuff like 10 Things I Hate About You as well. But, like I can enjoy all those kind of things, you know, because like and so like I feel like if you want to stay in your bubble, then fine. But like that's just on you at that point. You know, like
I mean,
that's sort of
I will say. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You were speaking before me. So
I will say I don't want to like if somebody every now and then says, you know what, I want to sit down and relax. Life is short. And, I've had eat your vegetables. You need to have some, protein too. You need to get your brain food. But if every once in a while you're like, I kind of want a brownie tonight. I was like, everybody has that one thing where it's like, I just want to indulge for a second and just chill out and not have to think about everything because I've had a stressful day and I just want to relax. That's fine, but it needs to be a treat,
But this is where my bias comes into play because my disconnect movies are like the Lord of the Rings and like some of the best films ever made in cinema. Like Titanic is a movie I watched like religiously as a kid.
Oh yeah, I saw that in theaters. Lord of the Rings, that
was great. Like I'm trying to think of movies that I watched as a kid. I watched a lot of Harry Potter as a kid, which is not great. But I watched Lord of the Rings. Moulin Rouge is a comfort movie of mine. Like there are all these like really deep philosophical topics, and my mom would show me things like A Scanner Darkly, or she introduced me to A Scanner Darkly. I've never seen it because my mom was like, "That's too dark for you." But A Scanner Darkly, Blade Runner, like I'm very, very biased when it comes to like comfort and stuff like that. Because my comfort is films that are intelligent. Like
Yeah, you know what? I did say that, but the more I think about it, the more I realize that my comfort movies are intelligent, yeah, intelligent.
My cover
When
movies
I
are
was
intelligent too, like Forrest
when I
Gump.
was
I love Forrest Gump. Yeah,
Wait, what did
oh,
you?
what
I love. It's my guilty pleasure now.
what'd
I
you
gotta
say? I'm sorry, like a brain, my face just
I love Forrest Gump.
like had
Oh,
a
I love it.
tremor. Oh,
I
oh,
love
oh,
it.
stop
I'm
it.
sorry.
Oh.
But like
Anyway.
my mom was
Haha.
watching David Lynch's Dune and Star Trek and
My
Star
dad
Wars and like all
loved
this
that
stuff
movie.
where it's like stuff you have to think about and to really enjoy it, and it's really robust storytelling and
Okay.
all this other stuff. And it's like I have always sort of engaged critically with film on a level, so
There
I can't watch a film like 10 Things I Hate About You because I don't find comfort in it because it's not intellectually engaging.
my dad would like when I was young, every weekend would take me down to Blockbuster Videos or Hollywood Videos, and he said, "All right, go pick out some movies." And like one time, I picked up. This is just a funny story. It's like Videodrome,
Oh,
and I
video.
brought it to dad. I brought it to dad, and he's like, "Videodrome, all right." And he picked it up. He's like, "Hold on, let me take a look at that. R rated, all right, blood, violence, nudity." Oh yeah, you see James Woods' ass. All right, here you go. And then he's like, I was like, that was my dad. That was
No,
my dad.
my mom and
As
I
long
were
as there wasn't
watching.
nudity in it, it was free to go.
My mom and I were watching True Blood when I was 11. Which, if you know anything about True Blood, it's not exactly the most PG friendly thing for a child to watch. I asked my mom earnestly, not even earnestly, I think I was joking. I was like, "Mom, where do babies come from?" And then she's fully told me, like scientifically, down to what actually, like genuinely what happens during sex when I was 8 years old. And I've talked to her about it afterwards, and she was like, "Well, you asked," and I wasn't going to lie to you. So I was like,
we,
"Okay."
yeah, I never had that conversation. I had to learn through it. Learn about it through fiction, of
Mm.
course.
My
Yeah.
mom was very much like, if you ask, I'm going to tell you, and it doesn't matter what age you are, because if you're asking at that age, it means you probably should know. Like
There was
there was no holds barred. She was like,
my
there's no reason to lie.
my brother was actually the same way. He was like really older than me, and I one day because I heard about Jack the Ripper, and this is what I heard. He says he killed prostitutes. I was like, "What's a prostitute?" Then I asked my brother, and he says, "All right, well, you know about sex?" He says, "Yeah, they do that for money." And I was like, "Ah, that's awesome. You just you get paid for that? That's so cool." Like, cause I was young. Yeah, I did. Like what like I knew about. I was old enough to know about that. Anyway, I'm sorry. I feel like I got because I did want to say you were talking about Legally Blonde.
Yes,
Like that's one of your comfort movies.
I do love Legally Blonde. It is more intellectually engaging than you think it is. I will say
Well,
that.
oh no, I do. I love this movie,
It's such
and
a good
I
movie.
I couldn't really explain why until I was watching interviews for A Different Man. Is that the
Oh, I
new
love that. It's such a good
what
movie.
Sebastian
Can we just
Stan
talk about
got?
A Different Man? Because I want to talk about that
Well,
for a minute.
hold on. Because the actor with
Adam
that
Pearson.
with the huh
Adam Pearson.
yeah with the condition.
Yeah, Adam Pearson.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can't remember names. Anyway, he said that Legally Blonde is the greatest
Underdog movie.
underdog
Yep.
movie because you look at Sylvester Stallone and you say, "No, it looks like he can handle himself in a boxing ring." But you look at this girl and you say, "Harvard Law, jog on, sweetheart." But she does it in the end. She does it, and that's what's so
Everyone
great about this movie.
everyone underestimates her, including the audience. And that's what's
That's
beautiful about it. That's
it.
what's beautiful because you see, because here's the thing, that movie is so smart because it weaponizes misogyny against the audience. It's
Yes.
so funny because
You think
this
it's gonna be a
movie,
farce? You think it's gonna be a
that
farce?
movie came out in the early 2000s, I believe 2003. You may correct me on that. but it came out in the early 2000s. All the pop stars were blonde, skinny, big boobs, wearing pink, all this other shit. And like white girls had come out, I believe, at that point, and everyone
White
had
chicks.
written off white chicks. And everyone had written off white women, and like sort of deservedly, but also
Yeah.
but also but they used that. They knew that that was the case. So they were like, when people first saw it, you're like, oh, there's no way. Like the first viewing of that movie is transcendental, because you look at that and you're like, there's no fucking way she's going to make it to Harvard. There's no fucking way. And then she stuck, like, because she uses her strengths. Like the whole thing is that the funniest line in that movie is when the Harvard law professors were talking about how they shouldn't
extracurriculars.
They shouldn't accept her, and they're like, well, we said we wanted to diversify.
Oh, that's a good one. That is so funny.
And then they have the audacity to say a fashion degree or whatever.
I love that scene too, because it's also pretty subtle, because they mention like, because they mention like her extracurriculars, like how she's organized these kind of things and these drives and stuff.
She's really impressive. Like she's really impressive.
Like she's
really
a leader. Like she's a leader. Yes. Like so she's actually doing something, because like what she's focused on is like fashion and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't mean that like she's not putting effort into what she's doing. So it's good. I like that.
It's
I like
just
that.
not effort that people expect or people want or people think is useful. Mm-hmm. But like fashion merchandising, everybody has to wear clothes.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's like the president of her sorority, and like she does these charity drives, and she the movie is just so funny.
Yeah, it's just such a good, funny ass movie.
And it's
smart.
So funny, but it's so clever. And he was right. It is an underdog movie, because every single person watching that film, I watch it now and I'm like, oh, I really hope she makes it to Harvard. Yeah. There are scenes where it's so effectively done, because you see her, she's like a fish out of water when she's at Harvard. Like the lesbian, the mean lesbian feminist is like awful to her, and like Warren is like treating her like shit the entire time, and then Vivian is like actively sabotaging her, like, and she just looks like she's helpless, and you're like, but I really want her to succeed, like. Anyway, I love Legally Blonde, but again, it's like cerebral films. It's layered. There's something substantive. Yeah.
Now, it has a theme that sticks to it. Okay.
Yes. Whereas Wicked cops the fuck out.
It does.
No, I'm sorry. Go on.
I feel like we've more or less reached the natural end point.
Yeah.
So you were gonna say something, and then maybe we'll wrap up a little bit,
because we're getting to a point where we're talking about anything else but this movie, which shows you how little there really is to talk about.
Well, also, we've kind of covered all the bases as well.
Yeah, basically, you said everything that we've said everything that needs to be said.
Also, I just don't like talking about Wicked.
So. Yeah, me neither. I mean, the book I'll talk about all day. The book you can't just just try to shut me up about the book. Honestly, is going to be the biggest challenge. Anyway, yeah, I think that just about covers it. Yeah, I'm done.
No problem. So like maybe a little bit of outros. If you could tell us where we can find you, or your handles, all that kind of stuff. Why don't you start off, Brian?
You can find me on Twitter and not much else until I get my comic up on like some website. That's about it. Brian Von Johnson, follow me. I'm a fun guy.
Oh, hey, yeah.
That's
yeah. So how about you?
Oh, I'm at Icky Casket. I've had my account suspended so many times because I tell people to kill themselves.
Sometimes that's one thing you have to do. Something.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I'm
that's the only
very
response.
Yeah, I'm Mickey Casket. I changed my icon because of it's one of my favorite movies of all time,
It's Christmas.
and it's Christmas time.
Wait, bitchy goth Snoopy?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, holy shit! I don't know you.
That's why I
I'm
was like, I know
sorry.
that guy. But yeah, that's I and I'm also on Letterbox, which is in my Twitter bio. So,
All right, let's see what your most recent ones are. And then
I'm
we'll
sorry. I
uh,
just
I don't remember.
let's see here. Ooh, good ones. Good,
Oh
good,
yeah, I
good.
forgot Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I watched it a few days ago and then I added it. The Boy and the Heron is a weird
it's
movie.
all right. I'm just not.
It's very, very
I'm kind of a hater, honestly.
divisive. But
Anyway,
That ending, fuck.
yeah,
so thank you
Right.
both for joining me. That was a great time talking about Wicked, the musical, the book. And if you ever do read the book, and we can get a part two of this going into that. I think that's on its own. It has so much different things to talk about. So if you ever do read it, then I know I'll be more than welcome. I think we'd both be happy to just kind of dig into that a little bit more.
Absolutely.
In depth there. But I think that thank you so much for both joining me. I think this was a great chat. Hope you both
yeah.
All
enjoyed.
right.
All right,
Thank you.
and then thank you,
Thanks.
no problem. And thank you all to anyone who popped in to listen. And see you again next time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye bye.